And we are live. Hello, everybody.
Oh,
I'm
sorry about that, folks.
tonight's co-host, or one of my co-hosts, has popped in as Shadow and Sun, and
Howdy, folks.
we are discussing preparation for a game table. And our focus tonight is going to be pretty much getting a campaign ready to go. Now, you can take some of the. This is for a tabletop RPG. Before you guys are like, for what? Board game night? No. For a tabletop RPG, tonight's discussion will be about pre-gaming and preparing for a table. That's what we're going to be focused on. We're going to get kind of into some weeds on it, but we're going to have a lot to discuss. And I think there's a lot of things between two people that have done this for years, for decades, as how it can relate and translate to you having more butts in seats for more times, for more sessions than what you've had before. And remember, if I'm wrong, you can get your money back. Shadow and Sun, how are you, sir?
I'm doing just great. It's been a nice day with the boy, prepping for that show with Connell, boning up on Stranger Things. We the little guy hadn't seen all of season 3, so we powered through like 5 episodes today to get ready for the show on Sunday with Connell because we're going to review season 4 together. And we really like that show. So while it's sad that it's coming to an end, it was a fun ride so far, and we had a nice afternoon.
I'm glad you liked it. I quit after season 2.
Really, that's what he said too. He said they could have ended at season 2. Season 3, the beginning was kind of rough. A lot of you know romancy sort of issues between teenagers and grown-ups and stuff like that. But I didn't have a problem with it.
I don't want to see Hopper romancing 11, so that's why I skipped season 3.
Oh, he wasn't. He was trying to get with Joyce.
I'm going to assume that's Winona Ryder.
Yes. Yeah. He was just trying to be a good dad for a daughter that wasn't really his after having lost his own. I get it. He just was a dick about it, and you know, he's not a perfect character. And while neither is the actor, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt because I do love the show. And I grew up with a group of 4 friends. We all played D&D together. We were all the best of friends. We went through our trials and tribulations together, and girls every once in a while were a part of that. And I get it. And it just it just took me back to those days. I'm not gonna lie, it did a lot for the gaming community, the Dungeons and Dragons fans out there. It brought them into the light for a little bit, and I really love that. So
I like them using the Ral Partha Demogorgon fig.
that was Grenadier, actually.
Grenadier, my bad.
No, I've got one, so it's a big deal.
But I mean, but they used that Grenadier fig from like 1986 or
Yep.
83. I'm not certain what year that actually was released. I know it was either one of those two. I was either going to think about Ral Partha or Grenadier. The third choice would have been Thunderbolt miniatures, which are garbage.
Yeah, I wish there was a heritage figure of that. Unfortunately, there wasn't. But I have, well, it's nice. I have so many miniatures from that era, and having one of that exact miniature unpainted in perfect condition is really nice. And I had it before the show started, and the fact that it's worth a ton of money now, easily $100 in the condition that mine's in. As a collector, that's kind of awesome.
I agree. I want to see the show that I would like to see them come out with is, there was a movie a couple of years back called Zero Charisma, and it is a gamer movie, if there is such a thing. It's about this DM that he's kind of frustrated. He's looking for another player to join his two friends on their D&D group, and they end up adding a guy to the game that he's not into their OSR or old style gaming. He's into this World of Warcraft stuff,
Gotcha.
and he's into things that the DM just doesn't like, and it's kind of funny to watch because the older guys, the guys that have been in the game for a while, they can see all the things he's doing to run a game, and you kind of understand why he has only two players, because he's not a likable guy. And that's kind of what you need if you're going to run a table, is you have to have a personality,
Yes.
to attract players. If you don't have that, you have to have something else. Either you have to have nice toys, or you have to have like a large gaming space, or something.
Yep.
You have to have
Yep.
something to bring the players to your den.
Absolutely.
And if you don't, you're just kind of like one of these guys that, well, I'm going to the game store. Maybe I'll have a group that'll show up there. Maybe they'll be on time today. Maybe. You're like that. But this guy lives with his grandmother, and it's a very hard watch for me, because
I've never heard of it, but I totally get it. I grew up in a gaming store community and got to Dungeon Master for a paycheck at the squirrely age of 14. And, I learned so much. And most of what I learned was what not to do. I got lucky and, figured out the game and, had regular players and new players all the time. And it's, there's a whole lot of mistakes you can make in anything, really. Yeah. But for me back then, I watched the older dungeon masters trying to fill tables, and they just couldn't, for various reasons. I'm not going to, throw any shade on people you guys never heard of, and I'm not going to bring up any names, but
no.
They made a lot of mistakes. This was, 1981, 82, 83, and I made a lot of friends, some of which are no longer with us, and it's real easy to make some of those mistakes. Even today, I've seen it happen. I've seen dungeon masters, break all the cardinal rules, and it's we're lucky that we've got this YouTube thing to draw information and inspiration from. And back in the day, all they had was trial and error, and I saw a lot of errors. Let's just put it that way.
I get it. I get that a little bit. All we had in the Midwest where I was from is we had a bunch of people that didn't want to play anymore because they were upset at the Bledsaw family, the royal family of domestic D&D, as I call them, because they were in the Dungeon Master Guide First Edition. If you want more Dungeons and Dragons, there's a company on Sunnyvale Road, I believe is the name of what it was, that they actually put Judges Guild in the Dungeons and Dragons AD&D First Edition DMG with their address, so you could go get a free catalog and wait for a month for that to ship to you. And they fucked up, man. They really fucked up. They had a business partner that was willing to advert for them, and they just frittered money away. The same thing that happened to Gygax on a large scale happened to Judges Guild on a small scale. Gygax got into some vices and some problems. Judges Guild had the same issue, and they had people that would show up to work higher than a kite or drunker than a skunk. And before 84, it was over.
Yeah, Gygax, I think one of these days we we really ought to talk about that because I saw it all. You name the drug of choice of people uh, from 79 on to now, from drugs and alcohol, gambling and other addictions and other vices and things like that you know this hobby you know could be considered one of those.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna take it seriously, if you're gonna put your time and your money and your feelings and all those things into this hobby, there's really not much room for a lot of the other stuff. I mean, to an extent, obviously, anything in moderation is fine with me. I'm always preaching about moderation, because the reason I'm the way I am is because I experienced all of those things firsthand. There's a lot of things out there that can mess you up, temporarily and permanently in life. And this game of ours, regardless of what dice you're rolling or what box set or what edition you're playing, got me through all of that. Got me through all those hard times, all those losses, all those trials and tribulations, as it were. And this game was always the constant for me. It was,
You were able to differentiate, and you were able to kind of put it together as to where like you knew when to put the game up, and real life takes over.
absolutely. But I also, I fell into some of those pit traps along the way. I'm not gonna, lie and say I was, perfect in any way, shape, or form. And I
Nobody is.
wouldn't be the guy I am now if I didn't, fall and stumble a couple of times, if not hundreds of times. And, for me, it's been my guiding, my North Star. No matter what bad thing happened, I always, even when I didn't have friends around and I was in other states or countries and I couldn't get a game together, I had my books and I
Yes.
could plan for the future and, you know, get ready for the next game, whenever that might be. And sometimes, it took years before I could get another game going, but I wouldn't have traded any of it, for what I've got going now. And hopefully this game will be the same for a lot of other people that are just getting into it, and it'll get them out of that horrible environment or situation or whatever ails you, so to speak. There's very few things that can compare to the experiences I've had, real and imagined, through these games, and the friendships that I've made along the way. There's very few things that can compare. A good family and a great son are all the best parts of that experience. I wouldn't have made it to where I am to have those things if it wasn't for this game or these games or all those things.
I can understand because when you're a kid and you don't have the option to jump right into adulthood, you have these games to role play and to pretend. And then as time goes on, you're if you've got a good DM, you're thinking critically about stuff. You're not just playing mechanical games like, I rolled a 17, I missed. I got a nat 26, I hit. You're not doing that. You're got a natural 20 plus my plus 6 to hit, so it's a 26. Just so you guys understand, I'm doing this trying to be legitimate as a DM here. But you have all these events happen in game, and then after hundreds of hours of RPing as a certain character, you go into the world and you're called to be an adult. And most people answer that call. They do a good job of it. They really do. But other people they kind of fail. You have my friend Eric, who he got into a game that we all played back in '91 because it was a rage. It was Vampire the Masquerade, and he got involved with some things at the time, and he kind of became unaccountable. He got into like the vices you're supposed to stay away from if you want to have a nice home, car
Yeah.
that you always make monthly payments on, or maybe it's paid outright. And the car that his parents gave him, he wrecked numerous times, and he still lives in his parents' basement. He's my age. Never got out of the Peter Pan stage. Could you imagine that? I can't.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that. He wakes up every
Well,
day
I
and
can only do so because I have a couple of friends that, while I don't speak to them very often and nowhere near as often as I would like, and trust me, that would be pretty often if I could,
yeah.
that went down those paths, including my own brother, who I'll never see again. And, he's not allowed to, go out and do what he wants because of the mistakes he made. And I tried to include him in this, and there were times where, he would participate, and he could have had a completely different life, but he let those vices control him. And there's only so much you can do. There comes a point, especially when people move away, and you can't be there every day to help them out. And you can only do so much when people are dealing with addictions and bad behavior and illegalities and things like that. And hopefully we can keep the friends we have here out of those pitfalls and out of those traps, and
I
be
mean,
there
just
be there
you
for
know,
them when they need us, if they need us. If you guys ever need someone to talk to, you guys know where to find me. This old fart's got a lot of experiences. I'm not going to use the word wisdom because I do some pretty dumb things still, even to this day. But if you guys ever need someone to talk to, you guys know where to find me. And
I'm going to say, Shadow. There's a virtue in being able to say that honestly and being truthful about it. We're like, listen, I'm not a font of wisdom. I've been around a bit. I've been here a while, but if you need to talk, that's awesome. But don't expect me to be a saint. I love what you just said.
yeah, I've definitely been the exact opposite of a saint. And my son gives me a hard time. You're just trying to get into heaven. Damn right. Yeah, I am. Whatever it takes. I'll do it to make amends for the things that I know that I should make amends for. There's a few things that hopefully I was in the right, and even though it may not seem so now, it'll pan out that I did the right thing for the right reason. But I'm not perfect, and yeah, I do look forward to the afterlife. I believe in one, and hopefully it's everything I've imagined it would be and better. I don't know how it couldn't be better. I mean, I know how it could be better, but at the same time, not knowing how it could be better. But even if I'm wrong and I just end up being worm food, at least when I leave this world, I'll have left trying my hardest.
That's kind of all we can really ask for. Nobody that's here now can tell you what's on the other side of that veil.
Well, that's the tricky part. See, my old man, they both had my mom and dad both had polio. So they had the worst health I've ever encountered in life. And I've been in and out of hospitals, spent days and nights sleeping on the floor of hospitals, waiting for them to get better because there were no other family members to come get me. Unfortunately, the people at the hospital, took pity on my little brother and I and let us stay there instead of calling CPS, which I don't even want to get into. But my old man, he literally flatlined multiple times, and sometimes for significant periods of time. And I always asked him, or not always, but I asked him about it one time. And did you see anything or anything like that? And he said, yeah, I did. And I asked him, well, what happened? What happened? He said, well, it's another life. It's not much better than this one, but it's another life. And to this day, I don't know exactly what that means, but for him, life was never that great. being confined to a wheelchair from the age of 12 or 13 on to about 44. So I could see how, for him, it would take, a lot for him to really, admit that it was better. He as sucky as his life was, he still liked it. So I'm hoping that, it wasn't just one of those, hallucinations or whatever people want to call it, oxygen deprivation things, because he was out for a long time, one of the times, to the point where, they gave up, and he still stuck around, came back, whatever you want to call it. And, I got to hang out with him until I was just before my 22nd birthday. I mean, like a day or two before. And, how he could, muster through all that, being in a wheelchair, being on a ventilator for 10 years of his life, brain surgery, and all kinds of horrible things that he had to go through and still went through, just to, make sure that, his wife and his children, still had someone to, you know, care for, the best he could, I figure it's the least I can do, through the few rough times that I've had, if he can go through that, I can go through, what I got to go through. Yeah, I just shaved last night. What are you talking about, man?
It's
Not
not
that
long
much.
enough. Gotta get it like two. You gotta get that Edward James almost look to it for Ming the Merciless.
Chocolate cake is healthy breakfast.
They were talking about Bill Cosby himself in the chat there. That and DM James popped up for a moment. Have some grapefruit juice, says Rabbit Slug. Yeah, I I know there's a lot of people we got in our group that they're in your between yours and my age bracket, and polio was something that you dealt with on your parents' or grandparents' side.
Yeah,
I'm lucky I didn't know anybody with that.
yeah, it was messed up because it wasn't just the ability or the inability to walk. It destroyed a lot of different aspects of your being. And they even my mom, after my father passed away, she stuck around for another 20 plus years, not being able to do so many things that we all take for granted. you know uh it's pretty amazing. A lot of lesser people would have just given up. Unfortunately, she did, you know fall victim to alcoholism and other things that my father, his health was so bad that he just couldn't even do it. If he wanted to drink a beer, he'd take a couple of drinks and then he was done. My mom, on the other hand, she drank like a fish until a certain age, and then she couldn't do it anymore because she still actually wanted to keep on living, even though she considered herself to have had a unfair shake in life. And while I get that, there's a whole lot of people out there that had it worse than her.
I'm glad you got some good lessons going in. I know that doesn't sound too positive there, but
No, everybody's given what they can handle.
yeah,
Sometimes it doesn't feel that way, but you know what? Um, there's a lot of people out there way worse off than any of us out here are. We get to live in this great country and get to play this silly game as our main form of entertainment. For the most part, I know a lot of us watch TV and do other things, but there are countries where you would never ever have the opportunity to play this even one time in your life, just because of how hard and difficult life is. And we get to do stuff like this and make jokes about it, and live in the times we do, the place we do, doing these things. And I honestly wouldn't trade places with anybody.
Yeah, people that I know, they get upset because they're like, "You're wasting your time with this game," and I'm like, "This game affords me a level of analysis on myself and my friends and the world around me that I can actually sit back and look at it objectively, and I can actually see where whenever I run a game, how I want their fantasy world that I'm entertaining people with to be reflected. And
Yeah,
like with the things we have going on right now, we're about to live through that meme. Bad men make hard times. Okay,
weak men.
and
Weak men
good
make
men.
hard times.
Yeah, weak men make hard times, and we're living through that. Our northern friends in Canada, God bless those men of Canada, and they've been silent up till now, but they're buying a
The
gun right
women
now
too.
as we
The
speak.
women too.
Yeah, the
Little
Canada
old
is,
ladies, little old men saying no to the tyranny.
yeah,
God bless them.
yeah. And the thing is that they're getting ready for it, and this is going to be an interesting time to live through. And people that are into this hobby, the ones hopefully that are appreciable of liberty and free thought, are going to have more interesting things than the people that are just jumping on a bandwagon saying, "Yay, vaccinations for everybody, gun confiscations for everybody. We can't wait. Let's go." That's not going to provide a healthy mindset, and that's something I'm wanting to help people foster. Is that you want to have a DM that makes you think critically about things, and you want to
Yeah,
have
these games actually, they don't give us the physical training, but they give us the mental training, the
correct.
the ability to improvise and jury rig and problem solve and all these things that other people, even people in the service, just don't have. They don't have the constant mental training and putting yourself into these hardcore positions. For us, it's old hat. When the shit hits the van, so to speak, a lot of us are going to be more ready than the people who think they're ready because they've never experienced anything like this, and we'll be like, when I one time when I was in Keep on the Borderlands, the Caves of Chaos, blah blah blah. I know what to do. It may sound silly and maybe even you know far fetched, but it gave us some skills that other people don't have, and it gave us the ability to think ahead and to plan ahead in ways that a lot of other people they just one day at a time, don't think ahead, paycheck to paycheck, what have you, all those things. And if the gamers out there would spend just a little bit of time getting physically fit, myself included,
You,
we'd be
me,
a force to be we'd
Donald.
be a force to be reckoned with.
There was something that kind of happened in my Discord server last week, and one of my moderators deleted it. I think because of that, I thought it initially when I was checking it on web, it was like, oh, fucking Discord deleted it for against TOS. No, no, no. One of my mods deleted a channel. Like, okay, I'll talk to him about that later. Just I'm not going to go against him on it because if he felt like there's stuff in here, and he's not the one that deleted it, isn't exactly somebody who is an authoritarian person. He's had his eyes opened up, and he's about as libertarian as possible. But something made him be like, no, we gotta, no, 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 I don't need this to be seen. I don't want this to be taken down. So he did that, but I understand where Connell's at, and yeah, he's a big guy, and the thing is that if you want to help him out, you give him the criticism that steers him in the right direction. You don't tear him down needlessly. The guy's still like young. He's in his 30s. I didn't know shit compared to what I do now when I was in my 30s. And, ripping on an immutable characteristic of his he really can't change his genetics. I gave it a couple hours and I thought about it. I'm like, he can't really change who that is. He could be a musclehead fitness guru. He'd still be big. He'd be fucking imposing as hell, like any stereotypical bouncer you'd find on the boardwalk to any club. But he would not lose his size. He would be just more meat. And I don't know if you guys really want a world where he would be able to do 60 or 70 push-ups body weight style, because he's pushing a lot. He was never a small man. When I met him, he was doing Jim Belushi or John Belushi style acrobatics, handspring. The guy was pretty fit back about 2008, 2009. But anyway, I wanted to say something about that because, like, I would prefer if you see somebody that, like, they've got something that you feel you need to nitpick about, I would prefer, if it's in my Discord channel, if you could word it in a way that would be a little bit more than just like point at person and laugh. Like, really? Please stop that. But I have a characteristic where I don't want to make a mention of it for 48 hours. Yeah, rapid
Bongino rule.
Yeah, 48 hours. Like the Bongino rule fucking works because 48 hours gives you time to analyze, orient, decide, and then act. Actually, observe, orient, decide, act. It's an OODA loop. The guy
I was just going to say, but you beat me to it.
I know, rabbit slug. Push downs, sit downs, pull downs. This sounds so easy, right? Nope, ups. You got to do the ups, man. Ups are how you build fucking character and how you get your fitness. If you're not doing ups, you're not going to have it. Anyway, for gaming, this stream we've gone off the rails a little bit, which is as a standard thing. I want to talk about how we get our campaign mindset for a long, like, year plus campaign setup. And when I say a year long plus, I'm saying like 1 week, 4 hours of table time, and how we get ourselves in the mindset to where we have an idea of what we want to do. And Shadow, I know you've ran a ton of campaigns.
Yes, I have.
Hey, Rosetta.
For me, it always starts with the bad guy. You know, we all know that at the end of any good campaign, there is, this is a game. This is primarily, a combat centric game. Sure, you could, go the route of Babylon 5 at that one point where they solve everything with a conversation. That's not very exciting, and that's not the way I want to go. You can even solve it with the destruction of a magic item, a la the Lord of the Rings. That's cool. But for the most part, I think we all kind of want that big Dukaroo with the big bad guy at the end. So that's where I start. I start with the big bad guy. Who is that big bad guy? What are his goals? What is he trying to accomplish? How does that affect the world around him and, or her? And what that bad guy is doing and how it affects the world and how does it draw the players in to the inevitable showdown with the big boss fight at the end. Once I figure out who that is, then I figure out, I'll draw up their stats to a certain extent, give them some magic items, then work with the flunkies and work down, in a pyramid fashion. The big bad guy's got two lieutenants, a right and a left-hand man or woman. And then they each have two, and they each have two, until I get down to what would be the equivalent of first level minions. And those tend to be the rank and file army of the big bad guy. and then I, populate my world with them, and position them in places where the players will inevitably run into them. It could be, a big orc warlord boss, and his lesser chiefs and shaman and chieftains and things like that, and where are they located, where are the players going to bump into them, regardless of where they go. I'll scatter them all over. I don't really like to run anything railroady. I sort of look at it like a mix of both sandbox and railroad. I know a lot of people, that they have, it's written in stone. If the players succeed, they will get to this point, this dungeon, and fight the big bad guy here. That's cool. But players being players, sometimes they will wholeheartedly jump and take the hook the very first time, and by the time they're second level, they know they are headed toward the big bad guy. But sometimes, the players have thoughts and desires of their own, and I have no problem with that. And like, Max, I don't put it on a super critical minute by minute timeline that if they don't do something, a certain thing by a certain point of time, this horrible thing is going to happen. I'll have things similar, but not so carved in stone. I know the players are there to have a good time, and they deserve to have a few side quests along the way and some self-indulgent activities, and of course multiple trips to the strippers guild that could take weeks if not years off their timetable, depending on their pocketbooks, as it were. But eventually they will have to make that choice. Are they going to go and fight the big bad guy? Are they going to do everything they can to stop whatever menace it is, whether it's an orc horde or, in my current campaign, it's dragons and undead working together. Who's actually at the top is still undecided, because they're not going to eventually concede power to the other if they don't have to. The dragons may pick a dragon king or queen to lead them, but the undead, they're clearly going to have the supreme lich or vampire at the top of their food chain, their pyramid, and that particular individual will never share that limelight or throne with anything else. And if the players choose not to make that decision now, well, I'll just throw a few more obstacles, a few more things in their way that just make it more and more likely that they need to be the ones to step up. And if not, honestly, I'll let them hear legends and rumors and stories of the people that'll stand up instead of them, and see if that doesn't urge them into going in the right direction. And if ultimately they're like uninclined to do so, then they'll hear the stories and they'll go to the awards ceremony like in Star Wars, and they'll watch characters that look just like themselves get that award and get those accolades, and all the rewards and cheers and applause and all the things that they could have had. And if they're still not interested, there's still plenty to do in my worlds. It like I said, unless they're they really want to be part of the railroad and want to be part of the ultimate goal in a campaign, as it were. Either way, it doesn't matter. They'll have fun. That's what they came there for. And I can always have fun being a dungeon master without throwing them down the path of my story, as it were. I don't have to be like that. I mean, I appreciate it when the players want to go down that route, but I can't tell you how many times I've been in a campaign that I didn't want to go down that railroad. I know what it's like. It's usually because my character doesn't feel ready. He doesn't feel adequate for the task, or maybe the overall group mentality is of just wanting to have some fun in one way or another, exploring or carousing, or building their own little empire, building their own little guild or castle or kingdom, what have you. It doesn't. It's not supposed to be about me as the dungeon master. It's supposed to be about the players. And if the player's story ends up being something totally different than my big bad guy that I put out there. I've had great campaigns where they never got around to that. And there's nothing wrong with either way. Just as long as everybody's having an enjoyable time, and as long as they keep coming back, that's really all that matters. Without people coming back to your table, you got nothing. You got a bunch of books, you got a bunch of dice, and no one to share them with. And that's really what it's all about.
Sorry about that, Thurston Howell. Um, that's interesting that you go about your campaign prep with a guy. And what DM James is like, when I'm having a hard time prepping for a game, my best advice is to add 8 ounces of Slavic water and see if the situation changes. Add more Slav water as an option if needed. Pretty certain you all know what he means by Slav water.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay. So no, I go about it where I go at a map and I'll take a section of the map and I start putting down a couple towns and I'll have like who rules which areas, and then I can start adding in organizations. And usually my game, you'll see organizations have a lot more pull and sway with my games than say like a singular individual. And you'll see that families will be kind of in in that organization portion of it. And I'll be doing this for a little while, and I graft what I need to for the game that I'm trying to set up. And once I have everything in play, but like the linchpins, which is the players, that typically where I will stop planning, because if I keep planning, I start going down to minutia details, and I don't want to do that. I want to add the players first. I want to add the players in and see what they agitate, what they do, and I need them to kind of be a catalyst. And then once the players are in there, they'll start mixing things around a little bit. But then I'll add other variable groups, and I'll put in other adventuring parties, NPC groups, just to make the players feel like they're not the only one on a grand quest. I need them to understand that they're not the end all be all. They're like another group here. There's a mercenary band that's a lot like them over here. But within the confines of the map that I want to fuck with, I have the trade route set up. I have the harvesting seasons of whatever product is farmed in that area. And then I'll start figuring out where the players need to be at. And so I do that. And that's kind of how I go about my game prep. And once I start seeing how the players are, I'll start throwing out the hooks for the plots. Sometimes they're my own game plots. Sometimes I'll borrow an adventure or two. Sometimes I'll rip off an entire campaign path. This is the first time I've ever slammed two full first to 16 level games from Paizo. They call those adventure paths, Bruce. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've got two of them smushed together for the current campaign I'm running on Saturdays. And that's where you see like me hopping off from like, you guys are beating up giants this weekend, to you guys are beating up the hobgoblins and their minions. Ha! And you'll see that. And that's literally where I'm cut and pasting from over here and ripping this over to here and inserting my own creation over here. And oh, I have this module from like 2001. I better put it in the game so nobody forgets about it. So I do things like that. And then I have miniatures that I've used in previous games with names that other players will remember from previous campaign. And sometimes players get it, sometimes they understand it, and sometimes they look at a character that's introduced on the table and they're just like, is that miniature what I think it is? It's just a human figure. It's just a human figurine. That's all it is. Um, is that the same girl I met at the dance bar the other night? The one that we went and had the intimate moment? Oh yeah, that's her. She's on the battle mat. Yeah, and they, something like that, or it could be a campaign character that somebody met in a game 2-3 years ago, and Chris will remember a character name, or he'll have a recollection of getting his ass kicked, or I think I killed this character back in June of 18. Something like that will come up. But I will do things like that because I think that's important for a DM to have those recurring characters, the recurring nemesis.
Absolutely.
And as a person that this trade, our story time, our game time involves magic. So conventional narratives like once you kill Bobby, Bobby never comes back. Well, with D&D or with Warhammer or with Star Wars, it could be a little different. Hey, Arrows in Dark 9898. So you have these things, and by the time I'm done with this, I've got about 3 to 4 pages of flow charts set up of how power structures are operating. And like I'll use a real thick Sharpie if there's a heavy amount of power being shoved from one side to another. And I'll indicate that with arrows, and I do that. So I have these different ways of how things can operate and orchestrate. And with the current campaign we're playing with, like I had an idea where I was going to borrow from a few books for campaign ideas, but largely was going to be them on the road, just exploring this section of mostly unexplored wilderness in the Lost Lands. And I was going to populate it with stuff from my own collection and from my own twisted imagination. And instead, what happened was the players ignored everything. One of the players got upset because the donkey handlers upset him because it reminded him of somebody from his job. And he went off on a tear and he killed all the donkey handlers. He killed all the mentally retarded people in my campaign world that were handling donkeys for a trade company. And then his hero, his character walked off. It wasn't a hero anymore. And so the players vowed they would get it. And the campaign sputtered for about 2 full sessions. And the players did not grab a single plot hook. In fact, they saw plot hooks and they're like, oh, nice bait. I'm not going there. Oh, nice bait. I'm not going there. And so what happened was I just was like, fuck you. And I started a hobgoblin invasion when they were at a bar one night and let them try to fight their way out or figure their way out of there. And the players have kind of let me know they don't want to track how many refugees they have. They don't want to have an idea of how many pounds of food they need to get their hands on per day for their settlements. They want to not be involved with that. They're okay with like dungeon hacking and seeing really cool things that makes them remind themselves of other games. They're into that. They don't want to have the liability of, because we failed in this attack, you lost 17 refugees due to starvation today. What? Shadzar, I talk about Pathfinder because that's the primary system I've played for the past 14 years. 14, 16, 2004 was when I swapped over completely to 3rd edition out of 2nd. I held on to 2nd for as long as I could.
What did you not like about 2nd?
If I just have the player's handbook, the DMG, and the monster manual, I love it. And that's with any edition. But I really can't stand all the splat books and all the extra player class books that they don't fit in the game that I want to play.
Don't own them.
It's not about don't owning them. I can still mine them for something. There might be a spell in there. There might be a
Don't use
feat. Or
them.
there might be something I will use someday. But I don't. I like the basic 3 books. I really do. And
Hmm.
then I've got some other monster books that I love using because they're things players haven't encountered in years,
You
if
never have too many monsters. You literally cannot.
ever.
It will never ever happen. If it does, you have to readjust your thinking meat there somehow.
And the primary thing is that once I started running 3.5 into Pathfinder, my player base has never dried up.
Yeah,
I
but are
mean,
your players the kind of people that go out and at the time, this is second edition talking. Did they
yeah,
go out and buy the splat books and say, "Hey, I got this book. I want you to use it"? Or
a lot of my second edition players already had a lot of splat books. Like they not only had the splat books, but they were asking questions about Forgotten Realms history and timelines. And that was when I decided I was not going to run the Forgotten Realms because it
I
didn't matter.
never read or ran Forgotten Realms, and none of my players ever asked or cared. They never owned anything other than maybe the fighters or wizards. The complete handbook or whatever they were called, the brown and
The
blue.
brown
And
books. I
yeah,
didn't
yeah,
mind
yeah.
the brown books. I actually liked the complete line of X books. I actually did because there was always something where I could fit something in somewhere in a second edition game.
Right.
And when I say second edition, I mean first edition was with better editing, and that's second edition for me.
Yeah.
Um, and the problem I have with Pathfinder is that it's written for their system or their crappy campaign world, which I find no joy in the Pathfinder campaign world. I see it being just boring and the gods suck, and it's not what I want to play.
I
I
haven't run another person's world since I was about 16 years old, and I have yet to go back to using somebody else's game world, other than the Mutant Chronicles universe. I think I've pretty much avoided all of it. It's always been my creation. I've always been in complete control of everything, every book I allow, every character class I allow, and I've had good players, but one thing they never were was they were never inclined to go out and buy books other than the bare minimums. And for me, that was great. I had all these books to rely on and to use, and I had players for decades who never even owned a player's handbook.
be good, Rabbit Slug Ouchies. Thank you for showing up, my friend. Um, with the players I had with second edition, like I was in a group or I was in an area that was very much Forgotten Realms heavy, and if you brought out a Greyhawk supplement, they looked at you like, "Why are you dredging up that old thing?" Nobody wants to go against the giants. The game store owner would be like, "Hey, Bruce, listen, nobody nobody cares if you want to run an old adventure, or nobody's going to worry about it if you want to do an artifact hunt because you want to do all the artifacts from the book of artifacts." And I started running with that, and like had some people that really thought they knew everything at the table, and like they'd already gone through these adventure ideas, they'd already done these things, and I got dissuaded with second edition, like a lot of people get dissuaded with current Pathfinder. And they got, because Pathfinder, it really does, if you go in deep with it, you can get very detailed with Pathfinder to the point where there's no mystery about the game. And I try not to run it that succinctly.
I'll never actually have that problem because nothing's written down. It's all up here. I mean, I write stuff down, but
Yeah.
there are no books. When you're in control, you're in control. They can't go buy the books. They can't second guess you because there's no
Exactly.
way for them to prove that they second guessed you.
Well, I had to learn that over 20 years of running in tables. And the players that I have now are, one, they're a lot more forgiving, and two, they're not tournament playing people. They're the ones I had before. They would go and they would do their RPGA stuff,
Hmm.
and at the conventions, and that was all they were there for, is to level up this convention character. Now next week I got to go to this convention over on the other side of the state and level up that character.
This
And
is not
I
supposed to be a competition.
No,
That
and
that that
that's what it
that
felt
that
like.
that's well, no, that's their issue. And might I suggest they just try Magic the Gathering or Risk or Monopoly
A
or
lot of those
something where there's a
players
defined winner
got
because there is none in role playing games.
yeah, and it took me a while to figure that out. It took me a while to figure that out. Like as much as I like to paint miniatures with a lot of 40K players, those guys when they sit down and paint, they don't really care if you're a good painter or not. They'll give you hints and tips because they figure you're gonna get better. Let me help speed up your process for you to be skilled at painting.
Sorry, folks, little earthquake here.
Are you really having an earthquake over there or no?
No, no, no. I bumped the table. My
Okay.
my work table is just one of those cheap Walmart folding tables, and if I sneeze on it, it'll do that.
Hold on. I'm sorry, Chad.
No, you can't, James. You know better. Come on, come on. You're just messing with
Yeah,
us.
cheap
This
Walmart
little
folding
bastard.
table. I get it.
I love you, James. Don't
Yeah,
ever think otherwise.
yeah. DM James is badass. One of these days, I'm
Oh
going to
yeah.
go
Oh
see
my
him.
God. He's so much like me in a lot of ways. It's terrifying. I thought I was the only one. For so many years. Dungeon mastering for people who didn't go online, who didn't buy books, who didn't. You know, they had their character sheet, and those sheets were 20 years old, and that they didn't care. And I'm not going to say they didn't challenge me or push me, but we all got set in our ways.
Yeah,
We were using the system we were using, and they were ready to play, eager to play, and they knew their characters and they knew what dice to use, and all their abilities and all that good stuff. But they never, they were cheap bastards. It's that simple. I mean, I had one player, one real good friend of mine who has, you know, nowhere near as many books as I do, but he's got all the D&D, AD&D books, a couple of the second edition books, and he's got almost all the Palladium books that I have, and those are the main books that I still use to this day, unless I'm playing a different game. And everybody else had no books, and I mean, 5, 6 other players, and they had no books. They didn't care. Oh, you got the books. I'll just look it up when I get to your house. Okay, cool. And it's kind of shame because, having those books, because I know from my other player who does, he's always finding, hey, what about this? What about that? Whereas the other players are thinking on a completely different, level, not saying they're, either of them are above or below each other, but just a completely different way of thinking. They all they've got is their character sheet and their imagination, whereas the other guy, he's got his character sheet, his imagination, and all these reference books. And they both equally challenge me, but it's very interesting that the different routes they go and the different ways they problem solve. And I think that when I start dungeon mastering again online, it's gonna be a completely whole new set of rules with players, like Cal and my friend Armstrong over in the UK, and a few other people who and my friend Grim. You guys all know these guys too, Cal Benoni and Grim Desay, and you guys probably don't know Armstrong from Mad Eye Miniatures. He's mostly a Warhammer 40K and Gaslands guy, but they all they've all played D&D of one form or another. But a lot of these guys, that I've met through the internet, they've had a lot of books, a lot of different experiences, and a lot of time playing completely different games. So I'm really gonna have to bring out my A game to Dungeon Master for these guys.
sure. I want to hear about it whenever you do because I want to hear what type of game you're on. I want to hear your players talk about it if they like it
Well,
or
they
not.
are going to be they're going to be online games when I figure out how to do what we're doing here. One of them is going to be a traveler game, kind of a traveler western. One of them is going to be an AD first/second edition with my son and whoever wants to join in his continuing campaign. And then the third game is going to be something of a Supernatural, the TV show, and the Venture Brothers mixed in a modern Earth sort of, like I said, Venture Brothers sort of situation. But that's going to take a bit of work.
When you say Venture Brothers, do you mean Venture Brothers is like they've been reincarnated or they've been reassembled after they've been killed? You know, like either they get killed by a gas leak or a rampaging robot while they sleep, or
Well, let me put it like this: it's like imagine their world, but instead of it being mostly super science, it's actually going to be more magic, like the TV show Supernatural. The players are not going to be the only ones who know about the supernatural. The whole world isn't going to be aware of everything, but it'll be kind of like if Earth took a different turn from back in Johnny Quest times. Instead of they went towards super science, they went toward magic, but in Venture Brothers style. So of course I have to come up. I have to come up with dozens, if not scores, of completely insane, wacky characters, and learn how to do a lot of voices.
see, that's something I like doing whenever I have a table in front of me. I like to get into character and do different voices and accents and inflections and breathing opportunities, and I like to do that. I really enjoy that prospect.
Um, Shadzar and James, I have the Firefly game, I have the Traveler game, but I prefer to use Traveler because it's more open for me to again make everything up myself and not use anybody else's stuff. I can just cut out the Traveler history and use the Traveler game rules. I really didn't like the Firefly rules, and I like more things from the Traveler rule system. Pretty simple.
I haven't played Traveler in over 30 years. Wow.
It's a really good game, and it's a very simple game to teach people, and because it's so open to manipulation, that's why I'm a big Western fan. You can see all the Shadows of Brimstone stuff in the background,
Yeah.
and of course, Firefly is one of my all-time favorite shows. But I don't want to run it in the Firefly universe. I want to run it. It's going to be in my universe. Therefore, while it's a sci-fi game, if you find a magic item, that's because they exist in my universe. Probably won't, but it could happen. Traveler is just a game system that I'm more familiar with, and it's easier for me to teach.
I'm a fan of
To
both.
players who might not already know it. If they already know it, great. Roll up some characters and let's go shoot some bad guys or be bad guys. I don't care. I have absolutely no plans as for the plot. It's going to be a total sandbox game. I will literally plan nothing farther ahead than the next week or two.
And that's kind of where I'm at with my gaming, because I like to plan from week to week, or if I get a moment during gameplay, I start scrapping up the next act, the next 5 or 6 hours.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and really, the more work you do on certain things, the less likely your players are going to go in that direction, unless you've got the kind of players that will take the hook because you tell them it's a hook type of thing. If you tell them, it's just like when you run a module. Say I'm running, what is it? Something of the Rune Lords. You say I'm running this. They're like, okay, I'm in. They realize what they're getting themselves into. But if they say, I want to make this kind of character, and you don't tell them that you're running a module or a pre-made adventure, they're going to go in assuming that they have all kinds of agency and free will, and by God, they're going to go wherever the hell they want to go. And a lot of GMs, they hate that. They absolutely hate that. But to be honest, it's a whole lot less work. Improvising is a lot easier than writing down paperwork, writing down modules or monsters and dungeons and cities and royal family trees and guild structures. I never do half that crap.
I'll be right back.
Yeah.
Let me go. I gotta go get a prop.
Okay, so tonight on the Shadow and Sun show, no, I'm kidding. I'm not going to pull that. I did that over Connell's show when he left me hanging. I hope you guys are all having a great day. Let's see what's going on in the chat. That sounds like a lot of fun, James. Shads are that's old. The dying while making a character. I don't think that's a really a thing in Mongoose or second edition. It's the more relevant game engine going on right now. If you didn't enjoy Traveler, I can respect that. But I really do. It was the second game system I ever made up a character for. First was Dungeons and Dragons, then Traveler, and there are a whole lot of sci-fi games out there. But this one, Traveler's gritty if you want it to be. It's simple. It's complex if you want it to be. There's aliens and all that other stuff if you don't have the imagination to make it. It's everybody's got their own cup of tea, and I am never going to tell people what to play or do. I don't have any right, and I don't until maybe after the apocalypse, and I become a warlord roaming the wastelands. I really have no authority to impose my will on anybody other than my immediate family, and that's only for their well-being because I'm the dad and they're not. When it comes to gaming, though, players are going to play what they want to play, and I'd rather have people at my table than an empty table. And if we can all agree on the system or the campaign style or the type of game, whether it be fantasy, science fiction, Western, post-apocalypse, there's always going to be people out there that want to play, and there's always going to be dungeon masters out there. And the trick is finding the right group of people that there's this old expression, friends are people who know all about you and like you anyways. And that's what I'm shooting for. People that I can get along with. They know all my or most of my dirty, dark, deep secrets, and can still tolerate hanging out with me. And I wish you the same thing at your table.
All right, I had to get some stuff. Talking about die prep and campaign prep. So what happens when the players go off the rules for your game, Bruce? Well, I do this. And then I assemble what I rolled because these dice are badass like that. I've got these crappy dice that they have dungeon forms or geomorphs.
That's cool.
These are good for I need a quick and dirty dungeon, or I need something fast to be able to generate with. And say your players, they don't want to go and help out an orphanage ran by a succubi and a couple of devilish attorneys that are going to ruin some kids' lives. So they just want to go find a dungeon and hack shit up. Well, these are good for that reason. If you have an established plot and your players just aren't taking the bait, you have some options. There's a company that's called Gaming Paper. And Gaming Paper makes supplements. That's like this piece right here. They have a dungeon, and they have a few various things. You can have it with the furniture side up or furniture side present. For hex crawls, the dice like this, yeah, just look up Geomorph die. I believe that's exactly who put these out. Let me verify that, Thurston Howell. But the two things a DM should always have. I'll give you a link right here. You can go check this out right now. Gamingpaper.com.
Hey, Travis, no, I never read those. If you want to send me an author, etc., I'll give them a look see. And Shadzar, so would you say a procedurally generated dungeon is great for fast preparation?
Yes.
Actually, I can actually draw one complete improvised dungeon at any given moment without any effort whatsoever. I used to do so from early on with a dry erase board, and I would just start drawing, and that's the dungeon, and then they could map it, and if they didn't, you know, too bad.
All right. I'm
Okay,
having
Shazar, you
Thurston
have a
Howell.
perfect traveler record.
I don't know at the moment. When I find it, I'll tag you and give you a link in Discord.
I would never need dice like that. I could see how they would help a lot of people, but I could just and if I need to whip something up on graph paper, give me like 8 minutes and I'll fill the page with a dungeon.
This is Gaming Paper, a low cost product company that they put together stuff like you have gaming tiles like that, interlocking, good for dry erase markers. They also have
Writing that down, Travis.
wrapping paper. It's kind of cool. It's different, I know. Not that scene. If you're looking for gaming adventures, they have this stuff right here, which is a lot. This is the Mega Dungeon 1, and you get a lot of different, like over 100 maps, 100 unique double-sided mapping pieces for a dungeon. Everything connects.
Those are nice, but I've got I can't hardly read what's on the screen.
I'm sorry.
No, it's me. My screen's like 6 inches by 8 inches. It's a freaking tablet, and I can't modify it while I'm doing this stuff.
Okay. And you picked up Inkwell Ideas Dungeon Morph Die Explorer. There we go.
Okay, ink. Well, ideas. Okay, I'll take a look.
Not great, not bad.
I also have tons of cardboard floor plans from dozens of other places and games and things like that. Shadows of Brimstone gave me, a multitude of them.
Shadows of Brimstone, the old dungeon game Descent.
Mm-hmm. I don't have that.
I have almost everything for that game up until 2015. Then you have games like Wrath of a Shardalon and everything else that 4th edition board games came out with. And I say 4th edition board games because you guys know what I'm talking about as soon as I say it. 4th edition had a great set of board games that everybody loved, but nobody played the RPG. We stayed with 3.5 until Pathfinder or 5th edition came out.
I also have a lot of the old Warhammer or Warhammer Fantasy or whatever it was floor plans, as well as I have some floor plans from the 70s that are cardboard, dungeon floor pieces that you just build one room at a time. They're double sided, really, primitive looking compared to today's standards, and just dozens of other things. But ever since I bought the Dungeons and Lasers plastic floor and wall pieces, that's probably the way I'm going to go for the foreseeable future. I've spent probably a couple of grand on them. They look phenomenal on the table. Now, if I do something online, it'll probably be harder to use those, and I might just do it all more or less theater of the mind and a few dungeon maps and stuff like that to show the players. But uh, the plastic stuff is better seen in person. It might even be difficult to for people to get a gist of what's going on because the walls may actually get in the way of a camera. I have that piece right here on my table. I like your paint job better. Mine's kind of cartoony.
Yeah.
Well, I went with a bright blue for the skin.
Okay. I went with little shades of purple on the backside.
No, I mean like here. Let me show you real quick. I mean, I went really cartoony.
Okay. I like that.
Did you see? Did you see this morning though? Broken terrain. You probably don't know if this guy is a terrain guy. He made a full on Lolth about this big using some action figure pieces that I regularly highlight on my channel, and I never thought to do it. He took a little Barbie like keychain toy and cut her waist, cut her off at the waist and attached her to this giant set of spider legs and spider pieces from these action figure sets. Man, he did a phenomenal job on it.
That almost sounds like the kid from Toy Story, but I don't want to go there.
No. He and I and a lot of other gamers, we buy these action figure sets. They're $1.25 each, and there's so many cool things you can do with them. So many.
Oh, I stopped at a 5 and Dime store in March, and I bought.
Is it really called 5 and Dime?
It is. It closes this month. It's in Fredericksburg, Texas.
Wow. I used to go to one here in California up until I was about 10 or 12. And the day it went out of business, I was kind of bummed because I used to go there all the time. And I thought that was, relegated to the past and no longer a thing. And wow. That's
It has the same 70s die. Hold on. I have to mix
that's
up
cool.
I have to mix up my tang here.
Your what?
Tang.
Gotcha.
I drink with the astronauts drink. Tang. Or
Yeah, I used to drink it. I take a multivitamin every morning, and that's where I get all my vitamins. Where's my lid?
Yeah, I just popped a mouthful of blueberries and had some pieces of chicken breast and an egg and some chicken noodle soup, and yeah, I'm good. I bought about $20 to $30 worth of dinosaurs from the 5 and Dime. I'm really a big fan of that 5 and Dime store, and it's breaking my heart that on the 6th of June they're closing down. Right there in the main drag in Fredericksburg. Great town. You step in that town, and it's filled to the brim with tourists, but everybody's there because the town feels like it's Americana on a drip feed system, and you're there soaking it up, and at some point it's not going to be the way it is.
Yeah, I was telling my son this afternoon while we were watching Stranger Things because they were going through their downtown area where it's just nothing but mom and pop shops, and I told my son that's exactly where I want to move to, somewhere like that in Texas. Wall to wall streets of mom and pop shops, none of the big, obviously you're going to need a Walmart or something like that in grocery stores, but man, I miss those old days where you could go to 40 different stores and they were all people that probably lived near you, and you knew what their shop was and they knew what your shop was, and I don't know, I just miss those days.
We went to Kerrville one day, and Kerrville is exactly how you describe it. It's a fine little town where everybody that you bump into has they've got a story. When I moved to Kerrville 20 years ago, it wasn't like this. Or when I moved to Kerrville 8 years ago, it was a small town still. Or when I moved to Kerrville, we had a Ben Franklin, and it's kind of sad that it doesn't have that now, but it's a cute little town just west of San Antonio. And the ascent going out of Kerrville, out of that valley that leads you into hill country, because there's a like a ridge you hit if you're going eastbound on 10, and then all of a sudden you're seeing these majestic steps that you're traversing. You're going to go down probably a thousand. It feels like 1,000-foot drop going into Kerrville, and it's just fun to watch how they carve the interstate and the sides of these hills. But then you get there, and Kerrville is like the most southern point of hill country, of what they call hill country. And then it goes towards San Antonio, towards like Helotes, which is a town on the western side. And then it angles northwest of San Antonio for hill country. But you have a lot of places to explore. And there's a bunch of little towns like Brady and Eden where there's nobody moving out to those towns. There's subdivisions slotted 10 years from now, but they're not set up right now. Those towns aren't on the growth scale yet. The town they're hitting right now really hard is Fredericksburg. And that breaks my heart because that's such a town filled with Americana. Like I said, they have a 5 and dime store. And we hit Fredericksburg and we hit New Braunfels. And then you have like Kerrville, which is too far south for some people in California speak. That means that they don't feel safe in that town. I don't know why. It's a perfectly fine town. I feel safe there all the time I go there. I used to go there for fracking, but I would go there, and that was a weird town because it kind of gave me an idea for running a game. This ties into our stream. Running a game based on a town that was kind of on the precipice of wilderness, which it largely is. If you go southwest out of Kerrville, you're going into like some serious hills, but it's not really known as hill country. It's just an area where nobody settled. You have little towns in that area, but nothing bigger than 500 people. And just walking around there for a while, you get the idea like this is what it's like to be in the last town on the border before you hit that large expanse. And you got to figure out how you're going to make that come alive to your players at the table, because you have a bunch of people that are out there and everybody's there for a specific reason. Nobody says, I'm going to go settle on the border town. You have to make it appealing, and they haven't made it appealing yet. And once a town gets out of that border town status and becomes a burgeoning small city to a large city, that's where you'll have people going there to set up shop, and you'll have actual bards in an area, and you'll have a reason for people to detour and go to this town that's on the border area. And Kerrville feels like it's still that keep on the borderlands, that town that's only alive because of the 500 armed men that live in this town. Kerrville's not like that in real life. There's not 500 armed men that keep the cartels out of Kerrville. We're 3 hours north of the border when you're standing there. Nobody is there trying to sell you into slavery, okay? It's a mostly very uneventful town. And when I say uneventful, I mean the most eventful thing that's going to happen is Friday night at 6 o'clock, 2 of the bars open up their live performances, and they get on the roof of these bars and they start to jam.
That's awesome.
That's the most events that happen because they're doing this because it happens in Austin, it happens in San Marcos, and you have events like that going on in those communities. And Kerrville wants to be like that too. But you have to make that come alive for your players sitting at your table in a smelly basement at your parents' house, or in your smelly basement, or your smelly garage, or whatever. And you have to be able to help them have this come alive, because the majority of people that are there in the town, the NPCs you're interacting with, they're looking for entertainment or for something to take them out of their mundane thing. An adventurer goes to a town to generate coin and get out of Dodge. Not many adventurers go to a town as like, I want to live here because all the women are pretty, and I think my dad would be happy if I married a woman from New Braunfels. No, 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 no. As much as we want that to be the case, that doesn't happen. At least not at our tables.
Right.
But you gotta you put at the table like the players are there and they're looking for coin. The people that are there are looking for something to take their mind off why they're in a border town. So you have to give them something to just you as a player have to sell to the dungeon master. You want them to sell to you the idea that, okay, I'm willing to go and wrestle up these cattle for you, or I'm willing to go and get in your basement at your bar and take care of the rats. Because these people would probably take care of that pretty easily. But why not let some neophyte fresh out of swordsman school whack himself with a natural one? You might get some good laughs out of it. Plus, you'll be able to have one of your shop hands bandage them up and make them useful for about 25 minutes.
Yep.
Thurston Howell's like, climates are too similar to Chinidas for me. Hey, multi-gunman, how you doing? Texas is nice, but I'm heading to Idaho or Montana. Yeah, that's too close to the Canadian border. I admire you, Travis. You want to go up that north area? Go ahead, man. Seriously, I'm for my Canadian friends that can handle Canadian winter. You have my respect. I am a man who wants to live in shorts and sandals. My parentage, my folks are from mostly Mediterranean countries. At least majority of the percentage of makeup that I have is Mediterranean country, and so sandals comes nice to me. But I was trying to think of a way to do that, of how to tie the traveler aspect I had, my vacation Bruce from March of this year, and how I could rectify that into a game. And it came to me when I was thinking about it, because in Kerrville, the people that are there in Kerrville are lifelong residents. They've accepted their lot in life. They're not willing to move back into civilization. They like being on the border where they can have purple painted fence posts where they can tell people, you get the hell off my land. And then they rack the 12 gauge. You have to have those type of individuals in those type of areas. Otherwise, the West will be lost. You will lose the border if you don't have those people there. And you want somebody of that mindset to mentor your player characters, heroes, your alter egos at the table. You want somebody to mentor those players to have their characters have that mindset so similar, so other people can have their stupid wish fulfillment. Because somebody might say something like, I really want to get my business off the ground, but I need somebody to transport these goods from Idaho to Kerrville. And so you have somebody like your player characters elect for this. And so you give them the price. If they're first level, you don't have to make it big. First level characters are cheap. They're willing to do things for 100 gold. Once they realize that a magic sword costs you 2,000 gold, it gets kind of expensive. Do you have all that spread around to all of us? What do you think there, Shadow?
I think you got it right on the nose. There's I mean, unless they're really experienced players and they played a dozen or so first level campaign, first level starting adventures, and and if they dungeon mastered a couple of times themselves and they know the ins and outs of the books, they may ask for more money and try to you know try to get you over a barrel, knowing that, hey, you know the world literally does actually revolve around us, and therefore we want more money, or this game's going nowhere. I've had people literally say that to me. You know, well, you know, metagame it. Try to, you know, squeak more money out of me, or manipulate the game around me. By
Yeah.
saying, well, we can just leave. Well, there's the door. You can't really budge when it comes to certain things with your players, and if you got those kind of players, get new ones.
Like I love my friend Kai. I've known Blaine for 15 years, but I respect him enough to where I really don't want him to join a first level game because he starts up first level games every semester.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really want to do that to him to make him repeat that because I know his first level games last maybe 3 to 6 hours, and then your second level, and then you start to on the grind towards a higher level and higher level and higher level. But he's played and ran in so many games, and he's been a forever DM forever and a day. But I don't want him to be in a game where everybody's first level. We're one sword swing away from bleeding out. I don't want that. I don't
Yeah.
want that for him, and I wouldn't really want that for you either. I mean, I wouldn't mind it, but you've played a lot of D&D in your day. And
Yeah, but it has been, up until this game right now that I'm in of yours. It's been 20 plus years since I was a player, and you know there there's a lot out there for me to learn, and finding ways to use what I learn. You know, who knows where all that information will come in handy as a player, as a DM. I
great.
have I have no problems getting into games. I'm going to be playing in Crafty's 2D20,
Conan.
and I don't know shit about that game. I mean, I know I read the info he gave me and stuff like that, but that reading and knowing, that those aren't necessarily the same thing. And I'm okay, getting back in the player's seat as opposed to the driver's seat. I'm actually enjoying it and learning a lot, and I hope to be able to get into a couple more games. This year 2022, if I can get into an actual AD&D game, or a Traveler game, or whatever happens to come my way, I'll probably jump on them. I have played a lot of first level, AD&D, and I may shy away from that, but other game systems, sure, why the hell not? That's why I jumped on the chance to play a Pathfinder game. I do need to be able to talk about this stuff and be able to compare what I'm familiar with what's new and scary, as Grandpa Simpson would say. I can't really justifiably open my mouth and talk about it if I don't know at least a little bit about it. I can only go so far with just saying AD&D is best. That's not going to get me very far. I need to
You need to
crack open a
experience it.
book or a PDF or something, and be able to point out what I don't like and what I do like. Otherwise, I'm just another old man telling kids to get off my lawn.
Yeah, I hear you on that. Um, and I don't mind, like, the old hats like yourself or Kai or Shads are telling people get off your lawn on certain things. I want more gatekeeping in the aspect that the people that are dungeon masters need to look at the social media influencers and realize just what little power is actually being done there. They don't have power at all. Guys like Garibay or Ginny D or Matt Mercer, they can run their tables however they want to, but you don't hear of these people really dealing with campaigns that last for that long. Granted, Critical Role did have some long-lasting campaigns, and I probably shouldn't have put him in that group, but the majority of people running fifth edition run it for maybe 6 games or less before the table rotates out all the players and the new set of players come in.
That's tragic.
And that's the news that keeps being put out there. And you have a few players, you have a few DMs from the Dragon's Lair guys I know. They met some people in Adventures League and they really got along and they started running a game and they actually took out a lot of the extra books, the I don't know what you call it, the Tasha's or something or else. They there's a book that came out that a lot of fifth edition players thought is just you can't run a game without it. You must have it because somebody's got to play a tiefling bard. And these guys took out like all the extraneous crap that makes fifth edition such a squeal fest for these new kids that haven't played a game before. And they're going about running with that engine, but they've gone back to certain older concepts that were found in older editions of the game and other games. They've garaged their way into their 6th edition game, as they called it. And they've got like a 50-page manifesto that all the players share on their laptops or on their tablets for rule addendums and changes. And they've kind of gone back to the old Dave and Gary way where these rules didn't really work for us, so we're trying these other rules over here. And since they've started doing that, they're in their 8th month of play with weekly play. And those guys give me hope. But when I talk to the other DMs over at Dragon's Lair, a lot of them have the same regurgitation, like, oh, well, this campaign lasted 4 sessions and then it just torpedoed. People they get tired of their characters and then they get tired of the game and they just want to TPK everybody.
And I've never had that sort of experience. People, I just don't get it.
I'm at a loss.
Yeah, there's so many questions that come to mind. I mean, did they go off with those characters and play in other games with other game masters, which used to be a thing for us back in the day? You could take your character out of a campaign and go into somebody else's campaign, and for the most part, nobody ever batted an eye about it. They just somehow found a magical portal that allowed them to go into somebody else's campaign, and that was that.
Yeah,
and sometimes back and forth even.
That's how he did Matt for a while, one of the guys out of Mount Zion, Illinois, because he wanted to run a character that had angel blood in it, and there wasn't any rules about it. So I just wrote down some things like, okay, unholy word hurts you really bad. Don't get hit with like a demon splooge, and that's about it. When I was like 20 years old, I'm talking from a perspective of a guy that had a perpetual hard-on. I had not a whole lot of other thought processes going on in my life. I knew sex. I knew Dungeons and Dragons. That was it.
Are you 21. Following Shadzar's comments down here? He's rattling off a whole bunch of stuff here.
Okay. Go ahead. Go ahead and read it.
Whoa. I don't want to actually. Every time I touch my phone on somebody's comment, when I'm trying to scroll down, it thinks I want to block them, but I don't. Basically, this one is right here. Sometimes I don't like it. Should be all anyone needs, not some debate about why. Well, because debate is kind of what we do. We debate all kinds of things. You don't want to listen to our debates or somebody else's debates. No one's holding a gun to anybody's head. But that discourse, that type of conversation, a debate, or comparisons and things like that entertains at least me. I like to do those kinds of talks. I like to, put forth my opinion and hear somebody else's opinion, because sometimes I can be wrong, And I have no problem admitting to when I'm wrong. I do it all the time, at least, a couple times a day, especially when my son's around. And if I find someone interesting to talk with, and we want to talk about different things, and we end up debating and discussing and comparing different game systems, to me that's immensely enjoyable. And apparently, I'm not alone. There's lots of other people out there that don't want to just stick their feet down and go, I don't like it, and you can't change my mind. That's cool. There's a whole lot of things I feel that exact way about. Games just aren't one of them. I want to be able to experience or at least understand as many different games as I can before I, shuffle off this mortal coil, and discussing these games and different games that I've never heard of, or have only heard of but never played, discussing them with people like Bruce and everybody else out here. To me, that's immensely enjoyable. I don't need an echo chamber where we only talk about the good things about the same game that we all happen to enjoy. Because in a way, I think we do that. I think all role playing games are part of the same game, and thus discussing the fact that we all like role playing games means that we are talking about the same thing, just a different flavor. I like chocolate chip, you like pistachio, whatever. Cool. Well, and I don't like pistachio. You never going to change my mind on that one, but that's the gist of it for me. I don't mind discussing and you know comparing, and I there are a lot of games out there I don't like. There are a lot of games out there I do like, but I am willing to hear other people's opinions on why I might like or maybe shouldn't like something. And that's one of those great things about freedom of speech is it's really hard to shut somebody up without a, a, a firing squad.
I, when I have a game and first couple sessions are in, and my players start to throw up red flags. Had this happen in 2019 because I had players I met at a Adventures League, and I recruited them into my game, and they didn't realize I was running Pathfinder at first. They thought I was running 5e. So I'm like, no, I don't run 5e. Can you run 5e?
Did I, Travis? I swear to God, I didn't mean to block you. I hope you're
Oh,
joking with me. I hope,
oh,
Travis, you're pulling my leg.
I think if anybody here has some spare box trucks, you could make some money if you get licensed and insured for Canada before the great handgun ban goes in effect. I'm just saying.
It,
Did did you didn't did you just block him or no?
no, well, if I did, I blocked it from my phone, which is a completely separate account. I think he's just kind of messing with me because
Okay.
when I try to touch my phone to scroll down or up in the chat, it thinks I want to block that person, and so I just back out of that action
Okay.
because I can't block him as Shadow and Sun if that's you
No.
know. And I hope he's just pulling my leg.
Um, but we had some players that they they would have been right for the campaign if I would have just ran a railroad.
Hmm.
If I would have ran a railroad, like, you already have a job, you already have a purpose, you don't have to role play this. You're getting on the train and chewing from level 1 to level 18 with no forethought, and you will be fine because they knew how to level up. They knew what archetypes they wanted. They knew what spells they wanted to have. They knew what feats, because one of the guys was going through some thread for how to optimize Pathfinder characters, and none of them knew how to do that at first. And then as I was hearing them table talk, I'm realizing what's going on. And I'm like, they're wanting me to go in directions that I don't usually go in as a dungeon master. I don't usually say, yeah, go ahead. I rubber stamped it. You're okay. No. Core rule book to start until you get out of the core rule book. And they didn't get it. And we the last time we gamed together, it was at the game store, and one of the game store owners came over, and she was listening to me run, and she got just totally cheesed at this guy because I got tired of him being in my apartment. Like, not that I felt like they're going to steal my miniatures or something, but it was easier for us to meet at the store. My apartment parking sucks. Every one of my players that's here will tell you that. Chris will tell you that. So we started just meeting back at the store, and I would rent out some of the tables there, and it was easier. But Brenda sat down with us, and she was listening into the game, and she got cheesed off at these guys. She got pissed because she's like, "You have a DM that came prepared and is wanting you to just make a decision, and you're there standing expecting a bag of money or a map with an X on it. He's wanting you to critically think and talk and interact with people." And after about another couple hours of that, because I thanked her for that, but she didn't have to jump in and say that, but she was trying to get them out of their pre-programmed haze that they were in. So it was kind of interesting because she watched our table the rest of the night, and she says, "Those guys are from Adventurers League, and all those guys do is they have a module, they start at the dungeon, and they go in and they hack things up with their new super characters, and then they go off to a bar and they compare gold pieces acquired and who wants to buy the magic loot they got today. Here, who wants to buy this magic sword with your share of the treasure?" And that's what they do. And I said, that doesn't really sound like a lot of fun. I'd rather have the characters get to know the shopkeeper's daughter, get in trouble, get chased out of town, or get to know the players, get to know the heroes in town, get to know the elders, the mystics, have to go to a sage, kind of like do a Batman-esque DC Comics thing. That'd be preferable. And Brenda told me, if you're going to run over here, you need to have this other stuff kind of already done, because the players you're going to recruit here for this time period, they're not older like you. And she wasn't saying I'm old, but she said, older like you, because I was in my 40s. I was 44 at the time. And these people were in their mid 20s, just got out of college, had not thought critically yet. They didn't have it. They went to school, they have debt, they have a huge amount of debt, and they hadn't learned how to think critically. So it was kind of a shock to me. And so when I start stocking a table, you'll notice, if you ever look at my table dynamics, Shadow, you're at the upper tier for like ages, but you're in that group of people that you've played second edition or first edition a lot. And so you understand how to get along with people. You understand the kind of mentality you have to have. It's not I rolled this on my die, do I win? It's a
No, it never has been.
conversation. And that's
Yeah,
something that, go ahead.
yeah, it's never been like that for me. It was we back in the early 70s, or excuse me, not that old. Late 70s, early 80s. That was what was so intriguing about this game, is there isn't a winner. You're all winners for getting to get to hang out with each other and play this goofy game, and help each other all survive. Even the dungeon masters, they don't win if you all die. It's not a win or lose type of situation. And when this kind of game first came out, that was a brand new concept. Every other game, from tic-tac-toe to wargaming, there's a winner and there's a loser, period. That's it. That's why it's a game. And now there's a kind of game where there aren't winners. There can be losers, but there are no winners. That's
And you can still win, but you have to kind of win as a team
mhm.
more than anything else, because it sucks if you're the only one that makes it out of the dungeon for 10 straight games.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, this isn't the goal of the game is not to kill off all the players.
Right.
The goal of the game is to help your characters, help your players at the table learn their characters and learn how to use their skills and their spells and their wits effectively to outsmart whatever challenges you get
Mm-hmm.
to give them. And that's the main thing about it. If the players can't survive, nobody wins. Nobody wants to go through a whole fucking table wipe. As much as I do enjoy giving you guys big challenges, I also really enjoy hearing the level up sounds from my players. I love it when my players level up. I love it when somebody gets, you know, to hey, I think I leveled up again. Great. And one of the reasons why I like to hear that is that I have it set on slow. And you could do the same thing for it. Does slow mode just doesn't have to be exclusive to Pathfinder. You can
Mm-hmm.
take any game system you're playing and you can stretch out the levels or the period between your skill level ups, whatever it might be. You can drag out that time frame to whatever you as a DM feel is careful and applicable, because you want to have characters that progress through your story, but you know they progress through your game
Mm-hmm.
at a reasonable pace.
Yeah,
Sometimes
I've never actually slowed anybody down, and I have no problem speeding it up because for me, I don't care if you're 52nd level in AD&D. That's not going to change anything for me.
no,
The story, is going to go where it's going, and if you're, just because you're a certain level doesn't mean you get anything other than what it says your character's now able to do. Other than if at ninth or 10th level you can build a castle and you get henchmen and blah blah blah. That's about it, you know. And just because you made it to that point doesn't mean cha-ching it automatically happens. There's training and things you have to do, and I a first level character to me is no different than a 10th level character to me. It's just a matter of decimal places, and I'll move them forward, backwards, whatever I see fit, whenever I see fit. If the players think the monsters are too easy, I'll add a 0 on their hit points. If they'll do more damage or whatever, that was just the baby one. The next one coming down the hall. Oh, okay. You think you guys are tough? Okay, I'm going to add some hit points and damage dealt. You know, hey, what's happening? What's happening, man?
Hey,
oh,
It's for me. There's never been a character too powerful. If anything, there have been characters too weak. To survive my games. If somebody wants to come into my game with a 25th level, arc wizard, okay, cool. That's not gonna intimidate me or make my job more difficult to come up with challenges. I can instantly just take away all your stuff and teleport you to the moon. Okay, is that a challenge? Okay, you gonna quit? Tempting me? Because I can make challenges. I can make arbitrary challenges. I can make subtle and covert challenges. I can make in-your-face challenges. I can make challenges that'll make you, throw your dice across the room if that's, what you really want. I read too many comic books about characters that were immensely powerful, more powerful than D&D characters, and yet those writers were regularly able to come up with a challenge for the next issue, and by God, I can do the same damn thing without much effort at all.
it's badass. Connell, how are you doing?
tired and yourself?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Good to see you.
Thought we would see you sooner.
Game just wrapped up.
Good game.
Any game that I don't have to DM is a good game.
Oh, okay. I thought you were DMing.
I not tonight. No. I got invited to do a game on Wednesday, and I told him that I can make that work every other Wednesday. So yeah, I told him I can make that work. So wrapping up a campaign is a topic.
Starting one up, actually.
Starting one up.
Yeah, like what? How do you game prep? How do you get your preparation set up? And we haven't really touched on that too much. We've danced and dallied about a couple things like player composition, the types of players you're looking for, what you do to get yourself in the mindset, what type of notes you take, what experience do you want to have the players walk away with, that sort of thing. And it's of that mindset. You're gearing up for the next year of your weekend. How do you get going? Like he said, Shadow and Sun said that he pretty much goes with a main bad guy, and then he starts his capos, his lieutenants, his minions, and he populates the world with them, and then he lets the players loose.
Well, I can see that. If I'm doing a homebrew, let's say I'm doing a homebrew, very often. But I will go through, if we're doing Pathfinder, let's stick with Pathfinder on a statement. No, yeah, I'll stick with Pathfinder. I will go through the items, a book of complete magical items, and find an artifact weapon. That's going to be the big MacGuffin. Then I like Colonel Baked.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm just tired. I'm just.
Yeah, Thurston House said you were fried, and I'm like, no, I don't think he's fried.
No, I'm just tired. No, I'll find an artifact. I'll find an artifact that I want to use. It being even outside of Pathfinder. I know I said the arm and eye of Vecna. Yeah, he's all over Facebook right now. Let's say I have.
Why is Vecna trending on Facebook right now?
Do you not know?
No.
Oh, he's technically the main antagonist of the seasons of the Stranger Things, technically.
What?
Well, it's not necessarily the hand and the eye. It's just Vecna himself, from what I heard.
Yeah,
we haven't got there yet. We just powered through the first 5 episodes of season 3 because it's been a while and the little guy had no idea where we left off.
Each season of Stranger Things, the main bad guy or the main antagonist gets a D&D reference name, like Mind Flare or Demogorgon. Or and this season is Vecnor, however you say his name.
Vecna.
So the thing with Stranger Things, and I know Stranger Things is kind of cool because each season they are playing, I think it's 2nd edition Dungeons and Dragons.
No, it's first.
Is it first?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, it's in 1st edition mode because that's the time frame.
Because they're now in 83, 84. I don't know when they are.
86.
Oh, okay. So they're playing. So D&D is a big part of this series. So going back to what I'm saying, let's say I have, there is rumors that his eye and hand have been seen. No, he is still locked away in Ravenloft, says the clerics. Well, we should probably go see what's up. And that's why I'll start the campaign, the cleric or the king or whoever will hear fellow travelers and heroes, who wishes to put their name down to save the realm. And I'll go that route sometimes. And everything else being, well, I know it's knowing him, I'm going to be throwing cult members and undead and maybe other liches as they get up there in levels. Just because he's the first lich doesn't mean he's the last one. So that's normally how I started preparing for a homebrew if I was going to run one. Does that answer your question?
For the most part.
God, I wish I was baked. I'll be sleeping tonight.
You're not the only one.
It's so weird. It is so freaking weird. And I know this has nothing to do. Well, it kind of does have to do with some gaming because it's. I've known a lot of people to smoke during game.
Yep. We were just
Yeah,
talking about that, which I think would make for a great topic for breakers or gatekeepers somewhere down the road. God knows I've had plenty of experience with all of the possible things that can get in the way of a game in that regard.
So then, like I said, that's how I'd start a campaign if I was going to do a homebrew. If I'm doing a module, I'll just make sure I have all the maps set up, all the figs I need for the inmate counters, and go from there. I mean, hell, all you need for the first, 3 encounters in Rise of the Ruin was goblins and goblin dogs.
Sorry about that, guys.
That's all right. What are you doing over there, Bruce?
I'm having a type of response real quick.
Oh,
Different Ungilded. I'm sorry.
it's all right.
Well, no, she was asking me what the name of the 2442 Union Pacific locomotive was, and so I'm checking my internet and then going to cut and paste my response to her because her father's into not Lionel, but American Flyer trains.
I think that's a Sheldon question, and I don't know if me and Shadow here qualifies as a Sheldon.
No.
What, trains?
Yeah.
I have a fair amount of experience from back in the day.
I stand corrected. We found our Sheldon.
Yeah, I did have quite a few train sets back in the day. One Christmas, my old man surprised me with pretty much everything you need to build a train table except the board. And we got that the following weekend. And, obviously my old man, he couldn't do that stuff himself, and probably missed out on it as a kid. So he lived vicariously through me and my younger brother for many a year, to the best of his ability.
Actually, I saw the fig of the hand in the eye on Amazon, and it's to scale. I mean, the eyeball is the size of a real eyeball, and the hand is the size of a dried up hand. I thought about getting it.
I'd make them from scratch with a little bit of clay and cut off a skeleton's hand, and boom, add a little bit of jewelry, and I'd be done.
Well, I don't know how I feel about grave robbing.
No, from miniatures, like a skeleton miniature. Take a skeleton miniature,
okay.
chop off his hand. No, not real scale. Gross. No.
Actually, every so often, I'll get an email from this website. It's a museum. I think it's not the Chicago one, but I don't know what museum it is. Anyways, they will have pieces of them they've used for examples, not real museum pieces, but example museum pieces, like like a coffin or something, right?
Okay.
And they'll sell skeletons, and they're not none of the skeletons I've seen are real, but they're close enough for the ew factor to kick in. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, kind of.
Health class in high school when they had a skeleton.
Yeah.
Or did you? Or
Okay.
did your school, Bruce, not have one of those?
Nope, never had it.
We had a skeleton.
So, yeah.
Nope, she's looking for the northern class of steam locomotives from Union Pacific. They're the last steam locomotives to be made. And she was saying 2442. I'm like, nah, I don't think that's a thing. There's a 484, and I showed her some photographs of it, and that's it. So that's what she's off to buy her daddy for Father's Day.
You know what I like for Father's Day?
Another
A nice.
job. Oh,
I like cards. I like it when my daughter makes me a card
okay.
or a cigar. But I don't know.
I can understand that. Up until I was given a lawnmower and shown lawnmower maintenance, I can understand that.
As a child, having no money as a kid?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was really in that weird area where my parents were poor, but my mom's sister wasn't. So I got to see both sides of the railroad track, per se.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say, and I know a lot of this won't make sense to a lot of you guys, it is easier emotionally, mentally, and spiritually to be poor. From what I've seen from the rich people.
I'm gonna say this. I would much rather have the challenge of trying to keep the resources flowing. I understand that I'm not really good to save money. I get that. But I think if I had my own shit collection truck, I would actually be in a really good spot because I've started to get to know this area and I'm getting to know the various places and various procedures to keep that truck moving. And as long as I can avoid the crappy drivers and not let them wreck my beautiful truck, I think I'd be fine. But that's the challenge.
Right. Well, there's a difference between finding a career choice that makes you comfortable and being, stupid rich. Or being raised with stupid rich parents.
I didn't have stupid rich parents. My parents were as broke as I was, if not more broke than I was.
Yeah.
My parents. That's why my grandfather on my mom's side showed them, like, hey, there's a sale, and I'll go in with you a little bit to buy this $150 lawnmower for Bruce, because he's getting to that age where he needs to be active and school's not making him happy. He's not going to be a kid that's happy with the curriculum. And I wasn't. I was bored as shit with it. And worse yet, their teaching methods sucked. I didn't learn algebra until I was an adult.
And that was I still haven't learned it. Don't feel bad.
Yeah. I was good with the numbers. The moment you start adding letters into the bullshit, I'm like, this is not the bus for me.
It's just code, guys. It's just code, like fucking 6d6 plus 17. We all know what that is. It's the same shit as algebra. Once you have something to find out what that is, or you'll get it. I primarily operate in financial math.
I stopped being able to help my son with math years ago.
But the advent of the age of 11 was where things for me changed, and I learned budget, and I learned how to keep a lawnmower going.
Oh, sure, that stuff's easy.
Yeah. Started mowing lawns for people, had 3 customers during the school year, had 7 customers during summer. If I would have continued on with that path, I would probably be a little different, but I'd be looking at industry magazines to this day, salivating over the brand new Toro tractor mower. I mean, there's just a weird for me looking at that now. That's just kind of a. Could you really want to hang out with Bruce that would get excited about a new Kabuto, or I'm trying to think of the brand name of sharpened blades. They just started making mowers about maybe 15 years ago. Anyway, I don't want to have that reality. I'll just say that. I like the reality I'm in where I play with septic tanks and volumes of shit. That's a much better alternative for me to have than being a landscaper or field maintenance. But
I did quite a bit of that growing up and well into my college era, landscaping and gardening and farming to some extent. It mostly paint houses and things like that, but I could go back to doing any of them, but I'd rather not.
When I wanted to get my first set of 3.5 books, my uncle's like, I'll put you to work. And I'm not thinking anything about it. So I said, sure, I spent like a whole summer roofing. I'm like, never again.
I've done that too.
Then my aunt, it's like, hey, we could use some volunteers in the kitchen for this charity. Do you mind? I know you know how to cook. Would you mind? I'm like, me in front of a grill all day, free soda. Sure, I can make this work.
Done that too.
So that's why my career choice has basically gone to cooking.
I can value what you did, man. I'll just say that. And the thing is that people like you guys that have had various backgrounds and you've sampled some things, to be able to put those efforts into words and be able to have the players live vicariously or tragically through your own experiences, because you're able to make trying to dig your way out of a mudslide or a cave in, because you can recall a time when things weren't so happy and you were pushing a mower on a 110-degree day in Bakersfield, and you're trying to translate that misery to their current endeavor while they're fording a river and pushing a donkey towards the bank, and you're slipping in the mud and you've got crap in your eye because the donkey was trying to get up the bank, but he inadvertently tried putting his hoof through your head. And he didn't mean to. He kind of gave you that look like, I'm sorry, but I've got this bridle in my mouth. I can't do that. And you've got to be able to translate your own experiences and take the misery, not the actual experience of you learning how to change oil for the first time, where you almost went blind thanks to the 130-degree temperature oil running in your eye. But you gotta take the misery aspect of it, and you have to fist fuck your players with that. And you have to give them that humility slap. Like, this is your first time doing it, and it's not really good. You're pretty awkward. And this really goes best with like low-level games, I should say.
Yeah, probably.
And I don't mean to be so crude with my verbiage, but that's the best way I could put it, because you don't do, you don't want to have your players recreate your preteen years. You don't want them to have to recreate, like you have a 30-year-old dude at the table and he's playing a first level character. You don't want to try to give him that public awkwardness of, hey, you've got your first boner because like the girl that you've been next door to all your life, she's now got tits, and let's see you get awkward. No, don't do that. Don't do that. But you can say something that starts a conversation or starts an interaction at the table at your players, and they start to have an in-game event between themselves and an NPC, and they will actually the success or the victory conditions for that will be they'll come out knowing a family a little better. Like they'll get to meet like her father, the union steward for the trade coaster company. And then you meet the father and mother, and they're dressed pretty nicely for this festival event that everybody's at. And after about 20 minutes of interactions, and the players notice that the mother has this huge jeweled brooch dangling around her neck, right nestled between her voluptuous mountains of mammaries, hidden beneath a thin cloth dress. And everybody at the town festival has noticed this. And her husband has one of the wickedest sword arms in the county or in the parish. So nobody ever thinks about stealing that, because the one guy that did try to put his hand on his wife is now handless. So you have the players getting to know their environs a little better. And the way it started was you had an awkward moment where you had a 15 or 16-year-old fighter bump into one of the pretty girls that he grew up with, and she's going off to the university to actually learn a craft, not adventuring craft, no, to learn how to run her mommy and daddy's business. And this is that summer festival where you get to meet all the people for the first time since you've gotten out of your own adventuring university. So you have, I think the game works best when the DM can have something that starts off as a negative build into a positive. Maybe I'm wrong.
I can see where you're going with that. Life lessons. I mean, it just really depends on what you're going with. But life lessons, where I want to go with that. See, the whole I get stuck. The entire story, I'm wondering. So the donkey kicking the person, is that what happened to the donkey traders that party was working with? Is that what set that off?
Greg killed off the donkey handlers. Blame Greg.
All right.
Big Greg.
Yeah, early levels, having the group work together to get something done is good team building. It being retrieving this or finding that.
Like I wouldn't even say like getting them their first actual career job, but like the first two levels of the game should be an arduous climb of just getting to know the trade routes and knowing the various individuals that are on the trade routes, who they have to interact with, pass manifest off to, have an occasional fight with bandits that aren't too spirited at fighting. They're looking for people to just cut donkeys loose to save their own skins. There's only 3 to 6 of them. And once the first one dies, they have to make a morale check. Otherwise, they run away because they realize, like, we don't want to die. Or worse, we don't want to get captured by the Union Trade Company people because the adventuring bands they have are not moral. They don't hire paladins. No offense to Shadow and Sun, but I mean, not that Shadow and Sun would have had a problem with that, but he's playing a paladin in the current game.
Don't even sweat it, dude.
Yeah, and the thing is that like they wouldn't want to surrender because like these are people that are away from home, and their motto is it's not a war crime if it's the first time. Hey, Arrows.
I mean, the fact that I could justify that in my head makes me worry. I
mean, you did attack me out on this lonely trail. I'm guarding these 24 donkeys with my team of 7 individuals, 3 of which are non-combatants. The other 5 of us are seasoned.
Right. I mean, if you attack a party, you kind of have whatever's coming to you.
Exactly.
A paladin or not. Oh, well, paladin's like, well, maybe we should just arrest them and, ... Sure. So he's going to be eating out your rations? That's not what I said. Well, what's going to happen? If we just kill him now, put him in a hole somewhere, he's not going to cause problems for anybody else.
Very true.
I mean, he made his life choices. I think I've had this argument.
But did he?
Yeah.
All kinds of potential extenuating circumstances that could force someone into that sort of livelihood. Maybe they're being forced to do this, or their wife and kids will be, murdered or something like that. I don't want to be, running off half cocked till I know all the details.
No, I liked it. Wow. Okay. I would like to have my hand fully around the scenario and not be a half cocked when when the circumstances like this. But we're talking as if it is a human. What if it is something else, like a goblin or
well, that's why paladins can detect evil.
bugbear?
How'd you know what I was painting?
I'm psychic.
Reaper.
Yep. Where's the good one?
All of them are good if they're from Reaper.
It's a bones. And yeah, I do paint them yellow. I don't know what they are now, but they're going to be yellower when I'm done. But yeah, I do them the old school yellow furry bastards.
I like this ogre skin color that Reaper puts out. If you want to write that number down, 9459. That's like a really good. It's ogre skin, but it's a really good bugbear color.
I actually went with. I think it's cinder yellow or demonic yellow, and then I hit them up with army painter soft tone wash, and then I'll dry brush the yellow back into a little bit more luster. But
I just bought one of those.
you know what? I've gone through like 10 of those in the last 2 years. That is the most used wash I will ever own. We did a review. Oh yeah. Although I hear that stuff is actually technically made differently than the regular washes. I don't know, but I'm not going to dunk my miniatures in there. It's just a waste for me. But we did a review on all three company: Reaper, Citadel, Vallejo, and Army Painter. Or maybe. Oh, that's right. Vallejo washes are almost non-existent. But we reviewed them all, and that does not look good.
No, it doesn't.
No.
It looks like some of those pipes you showed us in videos where you just cleaned out.
Yeah, I would have tossed that like a year ago, probably. But yeah, I need to make a new order on washes and get some more speed paints. But yeah, that's nasty.
I after finding out that my daughter was made the cut to go to a certain type of private school, I realized I will not be buying paints or miniatures that much for the next while, because I don't know what the tuition is to get her in there, but it's going to be not kind to my wallet.
Good luck, man.
Yeah, she deserves it. I mean, she has to put up with her mom. I mean, she did wonderful in school.
Yeah, same with my guy here. Got 5 different awards this year, which is more than I ever got in my entire career of schooling. And
I found out like the first week of school, the teachers thought my daughter was mute.
The wash that I really actually like a lot is this. This is a Vallejo's wash.
For black, we found all the blacks are about the same, but the difference between like sepia and soft tone, Leap's Army Painter Yeah, I'll never need anything but Army Painter soft tone for 90% of my washes, unless I need an actual color. And with the speed paints, that's making that less and less necessary because the paints are like a built-in wash or contrast paint at least.
See, I haven't started using contrast paints yet.
I was thinking about what you're saying with earlier levels. And not that long ago, I rewatched the old Disney movie Iron Will, where the guy is has a dog sled team, and he's trying to win to make so he has enough money to pay off the bank so his mom can keep his house. And what if you're up in the frozen tundra of whatever imaginary land that you're at, and you have to go for a medicine because I don't know, dragon pox kicked off?
Not related to a simian pox here on Earth, of course not. Harumph. Don't be looking at the Blizzard or the Lich's board game shelf. Don't be noting the fact that Pandemic is still on the board game table at the Lich's workshop. No. Sorry.
Yeah, you notice how they kind of like the memes killed that whole thing.
The meme cannons work, man. We're fighting a mega billion-dollar empire with memes.
With jokes. I know, it's hysterical.
That's the bad part. It's working. And the fact that, David Pelosi would have had a full life after 1957 if his brother Paul hadn't wrecked the car and it tipped over on its top and killed him.
Wait, what?
Paul Pelosi did that back in 1957. He killed his own brother. And then just this past weekend, Paul Pelosi took JD2, took a brand new Porsche out and was drunk. Instead of having an Uber moment, the guy had a mega stupid moment. Yeah, I just said on stream, Paul Pelosi killed his brother David. You can go ahead and fucking Google that, wizards. I know you guys can do it.
I was going to say yesterday was actually a pretty good day for me. I went to a cigar dinner.
Oh.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
It's like a martini lunch.
Why, hello, dinner.
Smoked like 6 cigars, I think. Whew. And they just got heavier and heavier, but each one got paired with a wine or something, or whiskey or whatever. I think the cigar DM is going to continue to be the cigar DM, but the cigar DM might be taking a break from cigars for at least a week. Holy crap!
Careful, man.
I mean, no, not bitching. Had a great time. The ratio of men and women was correct. Me being the only man.
Were the women smoking cigars too?
Yes.
Okay, that's the crowd you need to be in. I mean, they already know how to wrap their mouth around something thick and long, so.
Giggity.
Aren't you? Never mind. I'm not going to go there.
This is an educational program.
I think it was like my 4th or 5th glass of this really nice whiskey, and I just kind of looked down at the cigar, and my Herbert voice kind of popped out. We got ourselves a fighter. Now you come over here, you big boy. And one of the women's like, "What the hell is wrong with you?" I'm like, "Whiskey." And it just, a bunch of people started laughing. Oh my God. I could definitely tell it's been a while since I, really got my drink on.
Once I get the cap on this plastic glue and fix the cape in here, I'll show you what I'm drinking tonight. Not exactly a light beer right now, okay?
Making up for lost time?
This weekend was instrumental in coloring my liver back to its needed blackness.
Aww. See, I have the same problem with my heart because every time my heart gets to that shade of blackness I like, my daughter does something and starts to lighten up some.
Well, I'm just gonna say that I had a continuous alcohol weekend, and there was not 2 days but 3 days because we have to have Memorial Day observance, of course, right? Right.
Yes.
So I mean, just my doctor said I have great numbers. He's pissed off that I have a better skin than he does. I said that's an immutable characteristic, dude. I can't change it. And he's like, well, it's you work out in the sun all day. You're taking care of yourself. You don't have skin cancer. He's got some things he's checking for me, and he's like, the only thing I can really do to you to ruin your day is we're going to have to set up your appointment for your colonoscopy. Fuck.
Yeah, I heard that. I heard that nonsense about 5 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know, Travis, I fell asleep on stream. That's not the first time I've fallen asleep on stream, buddy.
I can verify it.
But I'm okay with it, man. It's all right. I wasn't out driving a car in Northern California, and I didn't ended up T-boned by some taxpayer
Or
who my
teabag.
wife is even responsible for. Oh, we're talking about Nancy Pelosi's husband getting a DUI on Sunday. Oh, my bad.
John Carter, the Disney version. With your hatred for Disney, is a John Carter movie worth watching?
Absolutely.
It's actually not a bad movie. It's just that nobody at Disney valued it worth a shit.
Yeah, they made the movie, and they didn't skimp on the movie. They skimped on the advertising and the after marketing, the toys, the T-shirts, all that stuff. As soon as their contract was fulfilled, they said, "Fuck it, we're not dropping another penny." And they missed out because they loved Star Wars and Marvel, or gave them the love that they should have given John Carter. They lost out on billions of dollars for a sure thing when they should have realized that, after 100 years, John Carter is still going strong. And in 100 years, Star Wars will just be, potentially, a footnote.
Yeah. Star Wars is dead. And John Carter of Mars could have been a big fucking license for Disney. And they fucked up. So I would recommend that you spend some time and you watch the shit out of it.
I plan to. Actually, I was going to go to support Johnny Depp. I was thinking about going to a Pirates of the Caribbean tear.
I'm not, as much as I like what happened today, that's hilarious. Thank you.
Hey, we're still live, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, because the top of my screen doesn't tell me how long we've been live for any longer, which is kind of weird.
We're at 2 hours and 33 minutes and some seconds.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Normally it's right there on my screen, and now it's not. Not that it matters. I can hang out with you guys, for the rest of the evening if possible.
Fair enough. We and I didn't mind falling asleep on stream on Friday night. That was great. I know I was having a damn good time.
Well, yeah, Max's streams are always a blast. Even if I don't get to go on them live, I'll still stay there till the end.
Well, it sounds like you and Connell both are making the rounds within the community, it looks like. And I mean, I know you guys have both been on DM James's channel. I've not even made it on there yet. And I one of these days I will, probably very soon.
Just ask him. He'll say,
yeah, he's really cool like that.
Yeah, at first, my son and I were kind of intimidated doing this stuff, but I've literally been on just about everybody's channel, and as soon as Kai and Jade make channels, I know Kai's got a channel, but as soon as they have channels, I expect to be on there within a couple of months, or I'll give them a stern talking to.
And
Let's see. I've been on Shauner's almost every time you've had in the last 2 weeks there, Shadow.
Yeah, I've been with him just about every night for almost a week, except for a couple of nights I think that he didn't. He's got one going on right now, and I hang out with him, but uh, I don't actually get to talk to Bruce as much as I'd like to, and so here we are, and
What can I say? Actually, after game, because we did it online on the Bruce's hated site at Roll20, they wanted to do. They were like, "Well, let's talk about game." And I'm like, you know what, guys? I'm going to go make an early night, throw some water on my ass, and go to bed. Hey, Bruce, what you up to?
what happened?
Well, they wanted to talk about game theory, and there was nothing, in my point of view, that was really interesting enough to talk about for another 2 hours with these people.
Who?
The people I was gaming with tonight.
Oh.
Fair enough.
And so I'm just like, I mean, I know that's rude, but
Do they watch your channel?
no.
Are you really?
Yeah.
That's messed up. I've got a couple of friends. One friend in particular, he hasn't gamed with me or at all in 15 plus years, and he watches every one of my damn videos. We talk once, twice a week, and he doesn't know what the hell we're talking about.
Well,
But he still throws it on just because that's what friends do. And to
right.
think that you've got friends who are gaming with you, and they can't just. I mean, you made what, like 8 videos? They can't,
10 technically.
hit the sub button, hit the like button, and let it play while they're in the shower or something. That's
Well,
kind of
one of the guys I'm gaming with actually is the one I'm fucking with him hardcore. But one of the guys I'm gaming with actually
Are you in his mother?
What?
Are you in his wife or mother?
I basically throw his wife in the wheelchair, not in the wheelchair, but the wheel bucket. In we're gonna see what happens. Because
I agree.
What did the guy say? He basically told me that I should leave the table breakers because I'm not bringing anything to that show.
I would tell him explicit, exact, precise directions to the bridge that he can go hold hands with Dan and let Dan take him off that bridge in one glorious.
I accidentally might have caught him in a fireball.
Oh, come on. Who hasn't done that before?
In a ice storm. Yeah. And this shit keeps missing the next day.
So, that kind of sucks. All right, I'll work on that figure. I got to let that shit glide. That shit's got to dry, so that'll have to work later. Go ahead.
Where's Peter Pan's favorite place to eat?
I don't know.
Wendy's. Guess who told me that joke today?
Who?
My daughter.
I think you might need to have a talk with her.
I'm like, where the hell did you hear this joke? She's like, one of my friends. I'm like, fuck.
This is not good.
I'm so glad you're going to private school next year.
As long as we don't have to have the discussion where, like, your daughter's got a male friend, but he wants to be a feminist, and he's just there to, like, be there for her. And it gets so ridiculous where, like, you can see where he's trying to angle as I'm the nice guy, and I just give massages and hugs, and like I'm going to help her go shopping, and he does everything with her, and then eventually gets to sleepovers, and that's when you buy a large sharpening stone and you start getting that katana ready for surgery. You know,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Travis says, "How do you fix a broken pizza?" Tomato paste. Oh wow,
It's not
wow.
as bad as the previous joke. It wasn't really a joke.
I heard that and I'm like, holy fuck. Okay.
So, I guess the takeaways that from tonight on my end, I'm not wanting to wrap it up, but I know that we do have pumpkin times, and I don't want to be here past like 11 Central Standard. But what
You
I'd
got
like,
to work in the morning.
yeah, I kind of like my job
Fair
a lot.
enough. Fair enough. You know what I said last week or last time?
No, I'm just saying, Shadzar, that I don't want Connell to have some male friend over when the girl's 15 years old. He's doing a sleepover and her door's closed all night long.
So you will see my face on the news on next day for manslaughter.
James L, I put in the chat the channel for the Cigar DM if you need to subscribe. If you could please.
Yeah, let's get him all the subs we can.
I want to have when you're running the game, be it low level or high level, I think it's important for you to be able to interpret the struggles of players are going, their characters are going through, and you need to make it painful for them. They don't need to die, but they need to have a bit of struggle, and it's okay to let them experience failure. If they don't experience failure at all, then
You know, I kind of disagree with that a little bit. But that's because I'm a first edition, second edition player. And when you've got characters with less than double digit hit points, I kind of would rather throw that kind of mentality at them once they actually get into double digits and have a way of actually potentially surviving. Not saying I just boost them up to second, third level, for free or without, any difficulty, but I try to keep the real hardships, you know, because anything I throw at them in a first edition game is potentially total party kill at first level. If you throw one goblin too many, and mind you, in first edition, goblins have 1 to 4 hit points. That can still be the difference between life and death. We really had to, you know, you know, measure out those adversaries and those trials and tribulations a lot more uh, carefully. We really had to, mete out every single point of damage, almost 1 point at a time. Sometimes literally you knew that if you did more than 2 points of damage in any one attack, the game that's the game. The cleric
It's
and fighter are down.
it's kind of funny because that's almost the same problem you would get with 5e. Because with Pathfinder, you could, or even with 3.5, you could throw goblins, a large number of goblins in wave, and the fighter or whoever. Most times, the fighters, even low levels, will just cut right through the gobos, no issue. 5e, it becomes a number game. And if I throw 3 goblins for every player, and I said fuck, I'm throwing in 2 more, I could very well just kill the party.
Yep. That's why they had so few hit points, and why I had no problem with different ways of letting characters roll up their characters. I absolutely would not let you play a character without at least one 16 or 17, if not better rolls than that. If you rolled up a character with all, single digit numbers, you weren't going to survive. You just weren't. Even as a wizard, you kind of needed that 15 or better con.
Well, that's probably where the concept roll your stats, re-roll once came from.
Mm-hmm.
Because nothing worse is 4d6 and you roll 4.
Yeah.
And I've seen that happen. Like, fuck.
How many DMs make that stick? I'm curious. How many DMs make that stick?
What, they would have to roll all they had to keep that 4?
Yeah.
I don't know
God,
any.
So many of them, and part of it was that whole adversarial mentality of the dungeon master versus the players. That I absolutely despised. I saw it all the time growing up, and I'm like, they're either gonna quit playing after this evening, or they're going to find another dungeon master. And they're like, fuck them, whatever, pussies. Yeah, I like playing. I like having gamers at my table. I like having a table to game at. And, I also like the idea of not getting my ass beat when I walk outside after the game.
You know what you did to my character, right? Yeah, we're going to do it to you. But no.
Oh, yeah, I've literally seen it at some of the game halls. Total party kill, and a couple hours later, that dungeon master is running back inside the game hall because 3 or 4 players waited for him to go home. People get attached to their characters.
Before.
And mind you, we were all teenagers and younger. Well, not really younger, but 13 to 17. And I saw it happen. And while I not because I was involved, but as a bystander, and
Oh,
I'll kill. Don't get me wrong. I killed off one of my friend's characters. He'd been playing for over 20 years. This character was literally, a demigod with hundreds of levels in different professions under his belt, and he died. Not only did he died to a Stormbringer like soul eating pair of daggers, and he will never come back. No magic will bring him back. I don't care how many wishes you have, he's not going to come back. And he was not happy about it, but he knew this was a big battle. This was, a battle they had planned for over 10 years of gameplay, and he killed the big bad guy, but he in turn also died. So,
Wow.
it was an epic way to die, to kill off the evil emperor of the galaxy once and for all, because they both had soul eating weapons, and they mutual assured destruction, and the galaxy is now in peace supposedly until the next game. And it was an epic way to die, but he knew the chance was there, and it happened.
I was at a game shop down in Nashville when I lived down there, and this is not with kids, but these were with grown fucking adults, and it wasn't D&D they were playing; they were having a Magic the Gathering tournament. And
yeah, that I could actually see happen a little more often, because it is, kind of a 1v1 or whatever. It's a win-lose game,
right?
And, if I thought somebody was cheating and something like that, I could totally see that. But
there's cardboard money online, damn it. Which some of those cards go up there in prices. I used to have a few of them were a couple $100 a pop.
I've got some that are $500 a pop.
So these two, they were having some tournament, and the guys accused the other guy of cheating. So a judge came over. The guy says, "This is what I'm doing, and this is what he's accusing me of cheating." The judges ruled in that guy's favor. After the tournament was over, the guy was outside waiting for him.
That's kind of sad, but kind of funny.
It's like,
Yeah,
I hate to say that, but I mean, I'm trying not to laugh, but at the same time, I know like that kind of sucks because that dude probably is walking out of the store, not even thinking about the fact that he's about to get ambushed.
yeah.
The funny and sad thing about it is neither one of these guys are skinny people. I mean, they make me look small. So these were like your walrus sized people. And there was like, everybody stopped outside to see what's happening, and guys about to break it up. I'm like, I give this probably about another second, maybe 2 seconds before they wear themselves out. Because I don't think any one of them have that much gas in the tank.
Yeah, that's still, we're all supposed to be trying to have a good time. Unfortunately, when you are talking about a win-lose situation or money's on the line or a prize or something like that, other than, just a good time, that's one of the reasons why I don't play games like that anymore whatsoever.
Yeah, I get it. I kind of rebuild the same deck. I play Commander every so often, so I'll build myself the same Commander deck every so often. I'll go in and play for a while, get tired of the game, then sell my cards.
I'm actually trying to sell about a $50,000 collection, but I'm going to wait until I actually have a storefront of my own. That way I can get the most money out of it. It's one of the things I hope to do when I get to Texas is open up a store, even if it's just a little one.
Tell you what, you open up a store, and as long as Texas does not do what Illinois did, I'll open up a cigar shop next to it.
That's cool.
Wait, what did Illinois do?
The smoking law that they have in Illinois basically has neutered most cigar shops.
I don't see
Fucking
it happening here.
What?
I don't see it happening here. Majority of, I think every oilman I know is a cigar smoker.
Right.
Every single one of these guys.
The places I recommend people to go smoke cigars at are basically becoming a no-go. Like go to a park. I'm not saying go sit next to a family of kids and smoke your cigar. Go find a little nice chair in the middle of nowhere where you can look out the lake or look in the woods, enjoy the scenery, smoke a fucking cigar. Open area, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nope, can't do that.
Exactly, Cal. Exactly. He died a hero, even though he was evil as fuck.
What was it? It's like, or the cigar shops. A lot of cigar shops you can't smoke in. I can't smoke at home because my wife will bitch at me. Now I can't smoke it here. Can't smoke in the car because I got kids in there.
Yeah, I think it's BS that all the smoking laws. I mean, and it wasn't even our generation that did it. It was the guys that are, our parents allow that shit to start up.
Should my mom been driven down the road smoking a pack of cigarettes with all the windows up? No, she should at least had some of the windows cracked.
I'm going to address Thurston real quick here. If you're talking about the gods from the deities and demigods books, most of those gods were only a few hundred years old. Maybe some of them you could give 1,000 years old. And they lived in a society without any real technology. The character I was just talking about lived in a science fantasy game for over 500 years of game time with starfaring technology. After the first 100 years, he was in a starfaring society and had ample opportunity to gain levels well before he became a god, and then became a god and did the Immortals thing with lots and lots of gameplay. But yes, he had probably close to 200 different levels. And if you go through the old deities book and you add up the character levels, you probably could find some with 200 levels, like Zeus and Odin and things like that. But yeah, as for smoking, couldn't you open a cigar store with a outdoor patio for people to actually smoke?
In theory, yes, but I can see the locals bitch about that. Actually, right now, if you go to a bar and it has a beer garden, and if you're 10 feet, is it 10 feet away from the entrance, it can smoke out there. But everything is just kind of dying bar wise anymore.
Yeah, I see that. Eventually with the economy, the way it's been going, people are going to come to the realization that, hey, I can just go to Sam's Club or my local Bevmo or whatever and buy a bottle for the price you're charging for a glass. Why am I going to do that? Same with restaurants. We went to, I think it was Burger King yesterday. Not yesterday. It was Monday. We went to Burger King, and it was $20 for 2 burgers.
See, I never thought of going to the bar to get drunk. I went to go to the bar to get drunk with my friends. It was always, a social activity. I don't go to bars by myself. I'd rather drink at home, like what you just said. But let's say Bruce is back up in town. He's got a hankering for some honey brown.
Can't get that in Illinois anymore.
What?
They stopped shipping it out of New York.
Those bastards. That's all right. I can get it while I'm in Pennsylvania. There's this place that used to be around called Richard's. It was really fun to go to. It was an underground bar, and I don't know. Peoria had this wealth of speakeasy bars they could have very well done something with, and they never did. But like most things, what the hell do I know?
It's all right. You weren't up to speed on honey brown. That's fine. That's a niche product. Not many people follow honey brown.
I used to drink the fucking shit out of honey brown when I was in college.
That everybody I know that used to drink it says that exactly. I used to drink it all the time whenever I was in college. I never had it in college. I was out of college, and suddenly I was in love.
Yes, yeah. My son likes a particular burger at Burger King, and we don't go very often. And we had gone on a 3-hour bike ride, and on the way home we stopped, and I let him get whatever he wants because, I'm cool like that, and he is my only son. And even he was like, "Wow, Dad, that's too much." And that was the lesson I wanted to impart. He needed to learn that, fast food is quickly becoming a thing of the past for my family because I can make a burger just as good as they can, and for about $1.
Yeah, I completely understand. I mean, I've never been a big. If I want a burger, I'll just. I've never been a big, restaurant burger person unless I go to Five Guys. I like Five Guys burger. Actually, I think I like their fries more than I like their burger.
But I don't know, Carl's Jr. I don't know if you guys got that or Rallies or whatever. They had these $6 burgers back in the day, the guacamole burger and stuff like that. Those are some pretty damn good burgers, but I've since learned to buy better ingredients at home, and I can pretty much make I can duplicate almost any burger from any restaurant with home ingredients.
I basically told Steak and Shake to go fuck itself because they stopped using milk in their milkshakes.
Oh yeah, don't ever buy a milkshake from anybody anymore.
Why?
None of them use milk. I will never eat at McDonald's ever again. And
there's a local place that still do. Hardee's does real milk.
Unless I see it, I don't believe it.
No, I was at a Hardee's, and they went into their ice cream section, and they pulled out a strawberry, and they made a milkshake right then and there.
That's cool. Yeah, that's cool because I I just recently read a couple of different things on fast food restaurants and some of the deplorable things they do when it comes to making food for us plebes out here, and I'm thoroughly disgusted.
No, there's a few restaurants I refuse to eat at just because I work there. At one point, I'm like, I know what you fuckers do.
I hope Arby's is one of them. Never order the roast beef.
Oh, if I go to Arby's, I always get the same thing, but it's never the roast beef.
What's wrong with the roast beef at Arby's?
It starts out as a liquid.
What?
Yeah, I can see it.
And then they microwave this big bag of protein, and then they slice it.
That's interesting, but yuck. When I was growing up, we had a place in town called Rack's Roast Beef. Midwestern people are going to know who exactly I'm talking about. Rack's Roast Beef had a all-day salad bar. You could come in at breakfast and get a salad bar, and you could sit through lunch and sit through supper. You could do an all-day salad bar experience if you so chose. I wouldn't recommend it. I wouldn't eat off a salad bar, but that was where I worked when I was 16 and 17.
And I don't know. I think my favorite place to go when I was growing up was either Ponderosa or Shakey's.
I'm very familiar with poutine.
Oh, that's the Canadian dish.
Yeah. Good stuff.
I know how to make it. I've just never made it.
Shadow, we're going to need to get you to go east for a little bit. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, what's out there?
Not out east, but just to Texas. You already know you're going to come to Texas.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, if I have to wait until my boy graduates and goes off to the service, bummer, but if I can make it happen sooner, I will.
Pretty soon, Bruce will have all his people living in Texas.
Yep, then we got to grab Shauner and everybody else out from here in California and just build a neighborhood of nothing but gamers.
If I moved to Texas, I would have to run for something.
Same here. Probably from some wife's husband, but yeah, I'd have to run for something.
I mean, hey, don't call me out like that.
I was talking about myself.
All right, James. I hear you. Invite people.
I can't see the chat right now. What's he saying?
Oh, no. James L. was wanting me to invite him to Discord. I don't think Bruce's liver would survive playing with Shauner. I don't know. I'd have to find that out. My liver is in good shape right now. It's getting healthy back out.
My liver's just out of practice. It's my problem.
Is Shauner a whiskey drinker when he runs or what?
I believe so.
Okay.
I could be wrong. I'll ask him in a little while.
I have to check that out. Last time I had whiskey, I woke up the next day with no recollection after 8. I just know it happened. Shadow and Sun, with you getting a table together, what's the main thing you try to focus on getting your players on the same page with?
Picking the right players, knowing what they want, a hefty dose of session 0 or phone conversations, what they want. I really go in depth what they want out of the game and make notes tailored for each character. Try to find a way to weave it all together, so that they don't all meet in a tavern in the middle of a bar fight, and all those cliches. I try to come up with something different, and I try to dangle those rewards that I know they really want. One guy used to always be a matching pair of katanas. Another guy, you know, his own sailing ship, and another guy, his own you know staff of the magi kind of thing. Try to set those goals, early on, but let them know it's going to be a while. But at the same time, you scratch, the cleric's back, he'll scratch yours. You guys got to be a team. You know, no, none of that in party stealing from one another, or fighting, or what have you. Really try to start with that basic four food group: a fighter, a priest, a wizard, and a thief, and go from there. And everybody knows their part, everybody knows their place, and everybody knows that you really, teamwork is really the name of the game for my players. They've got to be a good team. They've got to okay, so what if the wizard gets his capstone weapon before everybody else? Maybe that's what's required, but just because he got his doesn't mean he's going to bail and leave you guys hanging without a wizard when it's your turn to find your magic bow or whatever. Stuff like that. And also throw in the potentiality for domain play, which is a big thing with my players. They always really want to get to that point where you know they may not actually be leaving their castle, but they're still doing stuff, sending out minions or sending out starships on exploratory missions, or working in the lab while other people are doing other things. Just getting them to where, like I always say, the game for us really begins after level 9. We've all done the keep on the borderlands and the first level adventures, the gritty, starvation island, and trekking through the desert and hacking through the jungles, and all that survival crap that a lot of people really like to draw out. We've all done it before. Um, a lot of times we won't even start characters at first level, just because our imaginations are you know developed enough to where we can fill in the blanks and get there. That's why I appreciated actually being 7th level as opposed to first level in your campaign, because it allowed me to really be fearless to a certain point, and not really worry about oh my gosh, I've only got 1 hit point left and I've been that way for a week, kind of thing.
Fair enough.
There's a feat that I need to tell you about for Bruce's campaign at some point that might help your initiative issue.
Yeah, that's the only thing. The only complaint I have is, I can't get into battle quick enough to do what I'm supposed to do. I mean, I've been okay, so far, but I can really see that dragging me down. I don't know how you guys are, you know, getting the numbers you do. I realize I did put Dex as like my lowest stat because it's not going to help my armor class, but I didn't think about initiative. And in retrospect, I really wouldn't have changed that.
The feat's called, next time you have the opportunity to take the feat, is called Improve Initiative.
Gotcha.
You allow that one, right, Bruce?
Yeah.
Yeah. Improve Initiative. Yeah, because Improve Initiative, yeah. I mean, it can only help.
Yeah, depending on what that is, I may put that belt back in the party loot, because it'll probably do you better than me. Because I'm only going to get like maybe a point on initiative. That's 1 in 20 initiative rolls. It will help me, do something faster. Because it's weird, because back in the day we used a D6 for initiative and then added your Dex bonus. Now you guys are using a D20. That's a huge, huge difference if you think about it.
Yep.
Improve initiative. All right, Pathfinder.
I mean, massive. That's 14 points of initiative higher than, I
Because basically what it does, improve initiative combat. It's a combat feat. The benefit you get a +4 on your initiative checks. Combat. It's a combat feat. The benefit you get a +4 on your initiative checks. Combat.
Hold on, I got 2 volumes here. What was that?
It is a combat feat. You get a +4 bonus on initiative checks. So whatever you roll, it will whatever your initiative is right now, without the belt, add +4 to.
Significant. When do I get my next feat? Is it 9th level?
9th level.
Yeah. And what would the +2 dex do for you right now?
It would make my +4 into dex into a +5.
Not bad.
I mean, it's not.
And that'll go for both your armor class and your attack initiative.
Yeah, that would go for my initiative, and to my initiative and my attacks. Plus the +2 belt will make it. Will be a
+1, right?
+2 to my dex right now. It'd be a 19. Be a 5. I'll be rolling. I have a 9, a +9 to whatever I roll. A damage. +9 to my roll for initiative.
Wow. But so it's basically a +1 initiative, +1 to attack for you, right?
Yeah.
What about armor class?
It would probably bump it up to something.
As long as you don't have full plate that's non-magical and not masterwork. Because I believe
because my armor is magical.
Okay. I believe I'll have to look at it again, but they used to have it in Pathfinder where if you had a +1 or some bigger bonus for magical defense, actually the maximum dex allowance would go up by 1.
Okay.
I don't know if that's still the case. Connell, is it?
Wait, one more time. What was the question? Sorry, I was looking at something else.
Plus magical armor.
Magical armor. I think magical armor is locked in place.
So it doesn't boost the max dex adjustment?
I don't think so. I could be wrong, but I think it's locked in place.
Fair enough.
If it is, the belt is almost useless to me. I would get +1 on initiative, and you'd be getting +1 on 3 different categories.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you also get a +1 to your reflex save too.
That
and
I'm already getting like huge amount of pluses on all my saves.
Oh yeah, because you've got divine grace.
Yeah.
See, my dex would go up to a 20, which would be a +5. My armor class would go to a 23, and my dex damage would go up to something, which I +5 to whatever. So, I mean, yeah, it would help me, but if it helps you right now, keep using it. And armor, yeah, because all I'm wearing for armor is leather.
All right. I'm going to start wrapping it up here because we're in that time period where I'm like, I need to become one with my pillow. I don't want to go. I'm having a good time talking to you two. We've got a good chat. which has got some zingers in there. I actually painted some figures. Yay! So
That's awesome.
yeah. Connell,
Yes.
tell us what you got on your docket for this week.
This docket will probably mirror your guys's. Tomorrow I have table breakers where we'll be continue talking about different plots that Storylines uses.
Mhm.
That's Thursday. Friday, Max's Chill Stream. Saturday, I'm probably going to rewatch some of Stranger Things and make some notes because on Sunday, me and Shadow and Sons will be reviewing this past season of Stranger Things, uh, season 4, part 1. And there is a lot of Easter eggs in there. There's a lot of Easter eggs from 80s movie slashers that got pointed out to me from a buddy that I need to go back and make sure I catch all of them. So when we do the review, me and Shadow can rememorize, as older people compared to Jack, some of these slasher movies we grew up with.
Yeah, we can hit as many episodes as we can fit in that episode Saturday because the little guy and I plan on going through the whole season before Sunday, so we don't have to stretch it out. We can stretch it out, maybe just do half of it,
Yeah.
because Saturday the little guy has his awards ceremony at the red carpet thing in Los Angeles, and I don't know how far we're going to get tomorrow. We're still trying to make our way through season 3.
And we'll find something to talk about. Unfortunately, my favorite DM is not doing anything this Saturday, so I will not have any games for any gaming for you guys to view on the YouTube.
So I'm sorry, but I do want to have like at least one day to where I can let my brain leak out my ear and catch up on the Orville.
I'm not. I'm just giving you a little bit of shit. I completely understand. I can get. Yeah. No, I completely understand. But that's about it. I mean, I might get a haircut in between.
Fair enough.
Now, here's a question for you guys: do you prefer go? Well, Bruce doesn't have hair, so he takes.
Grow it if I want to, but
Yeah, he just doesn't have hair. When you go get a haircut, do you prefer going to a one shop, like a Sports Clip or a Great Clip, or do you like going to an actual barber?
Used to.
I could almost make a commercial out of this one. Because me, I like finding a good barber, somebody who's been doing his trade for the last 20 to 30 years. Over than the local mall, we'll cut your hair, we guess, shop.
Yeah, you know my opinion, guys. I haven't had a haircut in years, and don't
Well,
actually intend to. Yeah.
Oh, go to a barber. Yeah. Go to a barber, get good clean shave, get your face steamed. I don't know. Maybe I'm just old fashioned. How did your train, James? How did your train go? Hamlet.
Well, it's looking good.
Oh, I'm still working on it. I'm not happy with it, but that's the problem. I'm never really happy with anything.
Connell, are you asking a man with no hair because he shaves it, and a man who hasn't cut his hair in 40 years about barbers?
Yeah,
it's been like 3 years, 2.5
spent
years.
30. Okay, last month. This month was it?
If I hadn't cut my hair in 40 years, I wouldn't be able to close the door without catching it in it.
That's awesome.
I spent like $40 the last time I got a haircut, and all the guys I game with on Tuesdays like, dude, you spent way too much money. I'm like, no, I don't think so. So I was just wondering.
Well, Shadow and Sun, what do you have planned here in the foreseeable future?
Tomorrow we've got a craft based on. I wanted to say based on a movie, but it probably won't be one of the movie-based crafts because we're doing reviews of Silent Running, Silent Green, and Rollerball this month.
With
Nice.
But the pardon?
James Cain's in Rollerball, right?
Yep, James Caan,
Yeah.
Bruce Stern in Silent Running, and Chuck Heston, the great Chuck Heston, in Silent Green, which we all better watch that movie because we may very well be uh, standing in line for Silent Green in the near future if we're not careful. And so we'll be actually doing a different craft tomorrow night. Then Friday I will do an Arduin review. Hang out with Max on Friday night. Saturday, no video. Pretty much just doing the ceremony with my son. Then Sunday, hanging out with Connell, doing some Stranger Things and our regular Sunday painting view. Oh, and I will try to hang out with you guys tomorrow with the table breakers or gatekeepers, which is tomorrow.
We're doing Table Breakers tomorrow.
And yeah, I'll be definitely hanging out with you guys for that. Friday, Saturday, nothing. Sunday, hanging out with Connell, doing our painting video, and then starting all over for another week. We're on vacation, so the little guy and I have the house to ourselves to do whatever the hell we want. We want to go on another bike ride or something like that. We will. But yeah, that's it. Pretty much more of the usual. It's a pretty busy schedule, and yeah. I was gonna comment. Yeah, you kind of look better with the old Van Dyke back in the day, but that works for you too. Yeah.
I would do the goatee, but that's really American History X time frame.
Ooh.
Yeah, I love that movie.
But
It's a great movie. No, that I think you can use that movie in some real positive light, even though the ending is tragic as fuck. But I love that film. I think it's one of the best films of the 1990s.
the scariest thing I've heard in that movie still kind of haunts my dream is bite the cement.
Yeah,
It's like, oh god.
yeah, and they really didn't pull any punches with that movie. It's one of the better movies from '98 that I remember, and it took me 10 years to sit down and watch it completely because the part where he bites the concrete was where my girlfriend would shut it off, and I'm like, ah. So I'd wait till 2008 when I was finally single from that one. But that was a good movie. Yeah, I can get a hell of a walrus look if I
Okay.
put this together.
Cal, who's gay?
They're talking about Shawner. They've got.
I
There's
seriously
some
doubt Sean's gay.
serious. You two are talking about Shawner on panel. The chat has a 180 opinion on Shawner, and I mean it's just like, I mean I can understand where that happens because I've seen him react negatively with people, and I'm like, that's really not how you. Whatever. You've been
I
here.
like
He's
Sean. Sean's
been cool
becoming
to
one of
me.
my favorite people.
He's been cool to me, and you guys have all been cool to me, and I just hope we can all agree to not always agree. We're not gonna, and I'm not gonna take it personal. I hope nobody else does. Life's too short, and you guys are too awesome to not be considered friends. So I hope you guys can all work whatever little differences you guys have, work them out, and nobody out here is perfect.
Yeah, that's the main
What
thing.
was I going to say? James made a comment. All I needed is a good suit. Was it? He said.
You need a
A
good
pinstripe
pinstripe
suit to go
suit.
with your cigar. Yeah,
I
definitely.
don't know if it's going to show up very well. Hold
Oh,
on.
it's an iPhone on camera. This will work out great.
I was actually half tempted to send it to you, Bruce, but there's a pic. I call it my Mafia picture because I look like a. You know what? I'll send it to Discord, and if you want mind showing it for James, The only thing only thing this picture is missing is the cigar.
Yeah.
All right, it's on Table Breakers.
All right. Chat. Thank you for being here all stream.
Yes,
and I really
exactly.
appreciate it. I know we don't always get along and we don't always agree on everything, but the community of people that I want to foster, the group of people that I'm talking to, is dangerous. There's not enough of us. There's not enough critically thinking ones. The Gatekeepers stream was always intended to target people that can critically think, and I need you guys to help your tables think. I need you guys to kind of get that started because the current crop I see at these stores, the mass number of tables don't have that. They have choo-choo trains and they have DMs that just blindly say, I need this level of success for this type of role. Who is my skill-based individual? And I need you to stop that. I need you to help put the brakes on it. And I need us to stop video gaming these RP games. And I know that sounds kind of weird because I'm a Pathfinder DM. I always will be, in essence, a 3 point X gamer. All right. I like that game. That's cool if you don't. You don't have to like the same things I like. But you and I will agree that we want to have people at the table that can critically think. I want all of your tables to have that. You can still have the one retard at your table that he plays the big dumb fighter. Stop that, Connell. Stop that. Thank you. I'll break that fucking hand. Stop that. You can have that one guy that he doesn't think things through a bit. He wants to play fighter, just break shit. That's good. Let's kind of not let him go the first thing that pops up. Let's keep him more like in a break glass in case of emergency sort of thing. I don't need you guys to ruin your local hobby shops. I just need you to throw the idea out there that maybe the hobby that we have right now needs to be improved. And we can respect where we came from. We can respect the magenta box. We can respect the chainmail. But no matter what, we do want to evolve the gaming to where we can have something attractive that will bring players. That's not to say we have to turn our backs on old TSR style games. That's not it at all. In fact, I think if you run more games like that, you're going to get more butts and seats.
Yep.
5e will get the most butts and seats right now. Once 6th edition comes out and their big marketing bullshit starts, it will be 6th edition. So if you want to play that game of Follow the Monkey, go ahead. I don't suggest. Go ahead.
Not to argue with you, Bruce, but I give 6 point whatever 2 years before it becomes a big hot thing because it normally takes about that long. It seems for the edition, but you're not wrong. On it will be the next big thing. We're playing Leaping Frog on editions, and we really need to stop that.
Yeah. There's more than just Dungeons and Dragons out there. It's fine if your table wants to play just that. But if you guys want to learn other systems, and if you want to explore, if you want to Gary and Dave your way in this hobby, those two did not just settle on Napoleonics. They didn't just settle on Parcheesi and chess. Those two guys played everything they could get their mitts on, and they tried to immerse themselves as much as possible before 1974 when Gary started writing out his manuscript. And once fucking Dave got a hold of it, things changed. And some see for the better, some see for the worst. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. What matters is when you get your hands on the game and you change it to fit the table so you can keep. That's the thing. Getting players isn't hard. It's like a relationship. Keeping that special person is. Keeping those special people, either retards at your table or critical fucking thinkers at your table. That's the important thing. And I can almost tell you that it'll be a lot easier if you don't try to hold them with class and be like trying to throw them riddles all the time. But if you're just a decent fucking referee or dungeon master, if you're a decent guy, you're probably going to be able to keep a table a lot easier than somebody that's a porcupine. Okay? you can be that guardian mentality to where you're like, no, this is the game. We have to honor these traditions. You can't. But when the guys were making this game, they never said the players don't like this rule. I don't know what's wrong with my players. Like, no, let's see why. And they would figure things out. And so Gary's game was in a state of flux from the start. It never was a concrete product. Now, granted, there was some foundations he put out there for basic D&D and first ed AD&D, but those games always were meant to where if you didn't like a rule, change it and make it your game. So make sure, and I'm using double knife hand here, so you know when my meat mitts and all 5 of the phalanges are in total agreement and I'm pointing at you, you guys need to make the game yours. Be it if you're running 5e, 3e, Pathfinder, basic, doesn't matter. But you want to have a table full of happy players. I didn't say you're kissing their ass and making Monty Hall games. I said you want to have them happy. And you can keep them unhappy and you can keep them poor for a few games. It'll build character. It'll be great. You have them go through scenarios where they talk about it. And then when they talk about that campaign years later, that's a standard for another set of campaigns they want to play in if they're still able to play. You're making memories at a table. You're making friendships. And I know that sounds weird. Some people are like, oh, the game is all that matters. Okay, fine. If all you want to do is just run basic dungeon game, that's great. Find a table for that. Find a table for that. That's the main thing is play. Okay. I said my piece. You guys have anything to add before I shut this off?
Oh, just James is still here. I sent you the picture on Table Breakers. Hey, it's a good picture. This is the one I kept my pants on for.
Bonus.
Badass. Shadzar said Dave had the game and Gary stumbled into it. Make notes from there. Brought Dave back in. Huh. Of course, that's not in the novel or the novel of Empire of Imagination. But of course, they wouldn't have that in there, Shadzar. That's the book about Gary. I need to read the book about Dave. I understand. There's plenty of stuff out there about Dave I need to study up on. Don't bust my balls about it. I have a very deep desire to read about it and to lead it. Thurston House says, we've been double ham-fisted, guys. He's serious. All right. You guys, see you tomorrow. We're going to discuss things on plot and adventure structure. That's going to be more of a deep dive with Jade, Baron, Kai, and Connell, myself.
I'll be there.
Okay. Thank you. It's been a blast. We did 3.5 hours, and we still have people here. Thank you so much. And I will talk to you soon.
Have a great evening, folks, and play the games that you love with the people you love. We'll see you guys real soon.